lay back and crack this window. I've been doing my best, taking a moment to rest, feeling stressed out. Give it a cut, I put that on guard when it gets hard. I stay on my job like no days off, so you can go home with that jump on jealousy. My bad, 'cause I've been working all day. Can I catch a break? Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your bitter, I'ma make a better way. Hey, hey, already got the world on me. Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your bitter, I'ma make a better way. Hey, hey, catch a break, better way. Oh, Mom and Dad's only daughter, do I make you proud? Writing my life in lyrics, do you like the sound? Seeking approval constantly. When it's my truth I own, I speak it, don't make sense now. Give it a cut, put that on good when it gets hard. Stay on my job like no days off, so you can go home with that jump off. My bad, 'cause I've been working all day. Can I catch a break? Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your bitter, I'ma make a better way. 'Cause I've been working all day. Can I catch a break? Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your bitter, I'ma make a better way. Hey, hey, already got the world on me. Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your bitter, I'ma make a better way. Hey, hey, catch a break, better way. Oh, working all day.
Say that you will change the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you wear your hair. Change the way you dress, the way you kiss, everything, 'cause you are scared that I might leave you. Why should I leave you? Baby, please don't talk to me that way. 'Cause I think you're perfect for me, just the way you are. And I don't ever want to leave you. Baby, don't you talk to me that way. Yeah, And I'm sorry if I sound a little harsh, but I don't know how to get through to you. Because you don't seem to know that you are everything a girl could dream of. Baby, won't you hear me? Don't talk to me that way. 'Cause I think you're perfect for me, just the way you are. And I don't ever want to leave you. Baby, won't you hear me when I say to me that way. 'Cause I think you're perfect for me, just the way you are. And I don't ever want to leave you. Baby, don't you talk to me that way.
Empty bottles of red wine laying on the floor from last night. We got a little drunk, yeah. Now I'm a little numb. Spending hours by your bedside, talking till it's dark out somehow. Can get you off my mind. Don't wanna say goodbye, bye, bye, bye. Maybe we should take it slow. I don't feel too comfortable jumping into something new right now. Yeah, I don't really know anymore how to feel something again. Think I'm just scared of falling. Don't wanna go all in. I don't really know anymore how to be more than your friend. Think I'm just scared of falling. Don't wanna go all in. Early mornings in your dome, I be sneaking out the door while the sun rises. Cause I ain't got the time, yeah, can't tell another lie. And baby, I know you want more than this, but you know I can't afford your kiss. So I'm staying for the night, but then I gotta say goodbye, bye, bye. Maybe we should take it slow. I don't feel too comfortable jumping into something new right now. I don't really know anymore how to feel something again. Think I'm just scared of falling. Don't wanna go all in. I don't really know anymore how to be more than your friend. Think I'm just scared of falling. Don't wanna go all in. Oh baby, I don't know. I think I'm scared of falling, and I really don't know how to feel again. Yeah, I don't really know anymore how to feel something again. Think I'm just scared of falling. Don't wanna go all in. I don't really know anymore how to be more than your friend. Think I'm just scared
All right, mics are hot. Mics are hot. Okay. All right.
Okay, I don't think Mika can hear us.
Yeah. Oh, she can't hear. Hold on one second. Give us 1 second. Make sure. Mika, you might have to connect with your. It's on your end. It's on your end. So, just gonna stand by and go ahead and wait for Mika to get situated. All right. So, good evening. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of AK on Fire. To my right is Rico the Plug. Sitting next to him is Ma'at Speaks from the Ma'at Speaks channel.
Peace.
Following Ray, and then we have Mika, but I think we have an issue with sound, but she'll get we'll get her caught up. So tonight's topic for those of you who've been following what's going on in the news, LeBron Ramon James Jr., aka Bronny, who is the eldest son of Los Angeles Laker LeBron James, received a lot of backlash after posting a picture of himself and his white prom date. Many black women expressed extreme disappointment in Bronny James, who is a 17-year-old at Sierra Canyon High School. Here are some of the comments that were made by women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s towards Bronny James. She is whiter than toothpaste. She is whiter than white. We lost another black king to a money-hungry white girl. He should have gotten a black queen like his dad. Bron has to do better. Good thing Bron has other kids, which suggests that Bronny was a major disappointment. The fact that he's just a kid in high school did not stop women from expressing their disappointment and frustration. And so that is the focus of tonight's topic. We won't be spending that much time talking about the Bronny James situation, but the feeling that some have towards interracial dating, how black women feel towards interracial dating, and the way black men feel about interracial dating. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure. Mika, are you good? Can you hear now, or are we good?
Yeah, I could always hear. I just couldn't talk.
Okay. We got you. Okay, so you good. Okay.
Hey, Mika, how you doing?
All right. So let's just start off with your thoughts on the LeBron James Jr. conundrum, Ma'at.
You're gonna start with me.
Well, yeah, I always start with the ladies first.
Okay.
I mean, what did you think much of it? Was it not really much of a big deal, or could you understand where a lot of the sisters were coming from?
So I don't spend too much time worrying about celebrities because they live in their own little world. But when I saw it, and the first time I saw it, it was Dr. Umar Nelson. He posted it, and I thought it was funny because I think that, LeBron does, he speaks out on Black issues and things like that. So a part of speaking on the Black community is black, black love. So was it surprising? No, because a lot of times when black people get money, what do? They go and put it into white institutions. So him putting his money into, them most likely going to predominantly white schools, being around, that's their circle. That is what's around them. So a lot of times what you are around is what you're going to choose to date. So, I wasn't surprised by it. Will I say that I was, I can't really say if I was like happy about it or disappointed about it, because I don't know those people. They're not in my sphere of influence. I don't look at celebrities as the parameter of what we should be doing in our community. I look at community building as the people around us. So I guess in a sense you would be like, oh yeah, another black man going on to, but I mean, he's not married to her, yet.
Right. And he's only 17.
He is 7. Okay. Yeah, he is only 17, but I think at that point, it is kind of like, okay, where is this headed? So it speaks to when you see when you see your offspring end up in certain situations, it does speak to you as a parent. So that being said, it would say that that's not something that's actually being preached. There are groups of people who think that interracial relationships is actually eradicating racism. I do think that that is not the truth, but that's what some people think. So his parents might think that that is actually a good thing. Like, hey, being in an interracial relationship is actually eradicating racism. So this is a good thing. So I don't know the mindset of LeBron as far as what he thinks as far as black love. But I mean, I don't think we can preach black love in one hand and then be like applauding interracial relationships in the other hand. So that's my take on it. But I don't look at it.
And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Ray, what were your thoughts when you heard about the controversy?
I don't understand why it's controversy about this particular topic. I really feel deep down that African American women brought this on themselves. It's just my opinion. I don't have a problem with dating outside my race. As a matter of fact, I have not dated within my race in a long time. And there is a reason for that. So I'm not going to tell you that I feel some type of way about it, because this is a lot of times these people tell you how bad white women are, and quite oftentimes it's the women in the the women in your family telling you just how horrible these women are, and then it makes you just want to try it. That's all it does. It just makes you want to try it. At the end of the day, there's a lot of racist daddies that I need to take to lunch because their daughters just wanted to make them mad. This whole idea of it's bad, it's hypocritical in the large sense. I'm with it. I don't have a problem with it. At this point in my life, I'm tired of arguing. I'm tired of fighting.
Okay.
I don't have time to deal with it. I'm 40 years old. And if you can't do your duty, which you do have a duty, if you can't act like a woman should act, then we're going to try other races. That's just what it is. And that's what's happening to black men right now. I mean, we are the number one race of men leaving their women. Okay. And it's not an accident.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get into that. I don't want you to fire all your shots all at once. We're gonna get into that, and no, we're gonna because what you're saying is going to tie into some of the other questions that I have for you later on. Okay. Okay. So so don't because you seem like you got a lot to say. So and you're gonna have plenty of time to say it. Mika, what were your thoughts when you heard about the Bronny James situation?
So I ended up hearing about it late, but I'm gonna show y'all something. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, I see somebody in a red jacket.
Yeah. I see
Okay, so anyway, this is my son and his prom date, who's white.
Bravo. Bravo.
How do you...
So look.
He's already a man.
The funniest thing about it is, like, I am so pro-black. It's not even funny. Like, I am so freaking pro-black. So when he first started liking the girl, he was like, you know, he brought it to me. He was like, you know, Mom, like, how would you feel, you know, if, you know, I was talking to a white girl? And I was like, well, you have kids with her. They're not going to be my favorite. I'm just going to tell you that right now. They're not going to be my favorite.
Oh.
wow.
And literally, all my kids, I made it very clear from the beginning. I said, you bring some mixed kids up in here, they are not going to be my favorite grandchildren. I love chocolate babies. I love fat chocolate babies, okay? My kids, none of my kids is lighter than me. All my kids is caramel or darker, right? And that's by design, okay? Did I tell you how I feel about black love, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, he told me, this is what he told me. I'm going to tell y'all. This is what he told me. He said, I've tried it with black women, right? It's much like Ray is saying. He said, I've tried it, Mom. They be talking crazy. They want to argue, Mom. They, you know, and I was like, okay, so it's like an episode of Real Housewives. He was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. And I was like, he was like, yeah, you know, and they got all the weaves and the eyelashes. And, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is so, like, I literally had to be like, you know what? I ain't got no dog in this fight, right? Like, and it's like I told him, I said, you got to defer to them first. I said, son, as long as you defer to them first and you have given them first option, right? You tried it. You try to give them first option, right? Fine. I'm not happy, but she's a good girl. Like, she's very, you know, like, I get it. I get why. But so that's my part. I'll add more later.
Before I go on to Rick, I want to ask you, did you have that if she can't use my comb, don't bring her home talk that most sons get from black mothers?
Yes, literally, you heard me. I told my son, I said, if you ever have kids with a woman outside this race, your kids are not going to be my favorite grandkids. All my kids know that. I literally said that from them being babies. I literally said, you bring another child. I was like, I don't like that old wavy hair, that old curly whatever. I don't like that. Bring me some black kids home.
Well, Mika, some of us are dark skinned and got wavy hair that got that baby hair, you know? What about...
Hey, you know it's a little different. You know, I want some stuff I can cornrow. You know what I'm saying? It could be wavy, but I still got to be able to cornrow it. I got to be able to put some beads at the bottom of the baby's head or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I've been very clear about that from the beginning. I'm just going to be honest. So literally, if my daughter was to walk in here, she'd be like, I know, Mama. I know. If I have some mixed kids, they're not going to be your favorite grandkids. I'm going to bring them by sometime, but they ain't going to be able to stay with you very long yet. Bring me black grandbaby. That's what I tell them.
Rick, what were your thoughts when you heard about the Bronny James conundrum?
So I don't know if my thoughts line up with my opinion on the whole issue. When I heard about it, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. They want to complain about a man making what was likely the better choice for him. Mm-hmm. My thing is this. I feel deeply for my sisters. I love my sisters, but it's like, imagine being in jail. I don't know if I have the right to use that as a reference. Okay, imagine seeing, you know that. Remember they say, like, what was that song and say, how much was the doggy in the window? like the little kid would like come and look at the dog in the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that little kid that come and look at the dog in the window, or maybe that dog that the little kid comes and looks at me every day, but don't pick me up. That come and look at the dog in the window, or maybe that dog. Why am I hearing myself?
Hold on, somebody. Hold on. That's there's a little feedback. Go ahead.
I think that even sisters know that a lot of them are offering us the worst deal. Not a not great deal, like the worst deal. So I get it. I get why someone who, if they could, would go elsewhere. I mean, but I came up with sisters. My cousins, and it's not like like my first 10 years, I had almost zero exposure with anybody else other than us. I mean, I saw it on TV, and I saw the police officers and the firefighters, but I went and, there was none of that, nobody else in my elementary school. I think maybe when I was about 10, we moved to Maryland, and then I saw other people. And even then, there was only like a few that were white. Maybe most of them, there were other cultures. We moved to Greenbelt, and there was some white, but there was like, it was a real mixing pot. But even in that atmosphere, I still didn't really gravitate towards anybody. But I think it's a relatability thing for me. I just don't really, I'm cool with it, but I just don't relate to them like that. But somebody like LeBron with rich parents, he had a lot more exposure. It's a lot more normal for somebody like that. So I can't blame them. I understand like the unity and all that stuff, but if you went to school with them and everything, like those was your friends, you rode skateboards and bikes with them or whatever, and you saw their sisters, and then you're gonna tell me like I'm obligated to choose. I don't think that'll work. I think that's like putting them in prison. And I feel in prison, even though it's what I choose. It's like I'm choosing what I almost know for certain is not going to be as good of a deal. I can just blind any, mini, miny, mo, pick somebody else from somewhere else and know I'm gonna get a better deal. And all of that said, I still choose my sisters. It's something about them when I'm looking in their eye, when I'm looking at their skin. It's about them that I be mad, but I don't want to go nowhere else. And I see beauty in all those other people. I do. I recognize beauty in all of them. But that's just where I'm at with it. But LeBron and his son, yeah, I get it.
Okay. Yeah. I want a quick caveat. Now, that I think her name was Peyton Galfaso. Is like an Italian last name or something like that. That is not his girlfriend. It's his classmate. He is in high school junior.
It's his date then.
Yeah, it's just a prom date with a friend. His father, LeBron James, also attended a prom with a white girl when he was in 11th grade. And a 12th grade white girl asked him to the prom. But he was always about the sisters. He married his high school sweetheart, and they've been together since before he got to the NBA. So just because you go to the prom with someone of another race, that is not indicative that that's who you're going to be married to and have children with. Like I said, it wasn't even his girlfriend. It was just a classmate in a prom date. Second, I wanted to preface before we started this by saying that what we hope to have here is a discussion about the implications of interracial dating, how it'll impact us as African Americans, why some choose to date out and why some choose not to date out. What we won't do here is attack any other racial group. That's not what we do. Nor will we attack people who choose to date out. The focus should be on why we're doing it or why we're not doing it, and what are the longer term implications for us as a group. I want to go to Mika, but I see she's not back yet, and so Ma'at, I hope you don't mind starting. Or you know what? I'll break the order up just to this time to give you a break. So even though there's been an uptick in interracial dating, well, actually, Ma'at, I want to hear your voice on this. So even though there's been an uptick in interracial dating, most groups decide to stay within their own group. They tend to marry and date within their own group, and whites are the least likely to date or marry out at 11%. Least likely, right? The most likely are Asians at 29%. Hispanics date and marry out at 27%. Those Asians who were born and raised in the United States date out at 47%. And African Americans as a group date out 18% or marry out 18%. So whites marry out the least at 11%. So primarily people tend to stay within their own groups. And this is according to a Pew Research study. Given that, I mean, even before I get that, and we are no exceptions. Just like Rick said, he prefers a black woman, and that's actually most black men. For all the complaints that black men may have, we still prefer black women, and many black women still prefer black men. And yet, we talk about dating out or marrying out as if it's some type of upgrade or improvement, or we talk about it as if it's some type of punishment for our counterparts not behaving a certain way. So I want to ask you, Ma'at, do you think that's unique to us, and do you think that we have an unhealthy view, at least psychologically, when it comes to interracial relationships?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. So yeah, I do believe that it is psychological damage to us to see beauty outside of ourselves. So when we look at, and when we are talking about other groups of people, when it comes to relationships, we do look at it as an upgrade, So when we're having the conversation about, and when black men have the conversation about black women, and then black women are having the conversation about black men, it's always because they are going to do something in their eyes, in their vision, they're going to do something better for me. Every person who spoke about this said it as in, there's something negative about black women. And so, and because there's something negative about black women, now I have to divest to someone else because they are going to treat me better. I mean, even Ray said, if you're not going to act like a woman should act, then you are going to, we're going to divest to this other group. I think, what's her name? Mika, she was saying about her son, like, if these women are not acting, these girls are not acting right, then we gotta, it's okay, divest to these other group of, women. So we have to understand this on a very historical level. A lot of times we don't like to look at this historically. We just want to say, oh, well, we have preferences now. This is our our preference, but not understanding the propaganda, not understanding what has been seeped into our consciousness, our subconsciousness, why we feel the way we feel about each other, what the things that we have been said to us. Most of us growing up in a Black household have been told by either a mama, a grandma, an auntie, or something negative about Black women. Now I'm speaking from, or Black men. So me speaking from a Black woman's perspective, I have heard the whole conversation, oh, go get you a white man. A white man will treat you better and things like that. It's always the treatment, you perceiving that the treatment is going to be better, that what they do, they're the prize, you know, as opposed to is it really your preferences? I look at it this way. When you are being advertised to for food, it's the whole idea of that food is on the TV, wherever it is, and it's appealing to your senses. And so what are they doing now? They're doing the same thing with TV, with entertainment. It's appealing to your senses. On the other hand, we have all of this toxic shows about our relationships, that the Black man is going to cheat on you. The black woman is, is toxic. She's some of the things that Mika said her son was saying, like the Black woman, she's trouble, she's argumentative. All of these different things that we hear about each other constantly, we're saying them now to each other after for so long they were just being said to us. Now we're saying those things to each other. So is it psychological? Yes, it's extremely psychological, and it's so part of our consciousness now. It's a part of our subconscious that now we don't even need, what's his name? I can't think of his name. The Miseducation of the Negro. The man wrote Miseducation
Carter G. Woodson.
Carter G. Woodson, right. So we don't even need to be directed to the door now. We're the ones doing the damage to each other now. So now it's not even about them giving us the propaganda. It's now us doing it just to ourselves. So I would definitely say it's psychological, and it's also because we're not like putting ourselves in our frontal lobe. We're not seeing that we are being like we have been indoctrinated, that we have been conditioned to believe certain things about our own selves and about each other. I cannot find the value in a Black man if I haven't first found the value in myself, and vice versa.
Interesting. I wasn't going to go to Rick. I'm going to go ahead and go to Ray, since she did bring up your name. I don't know if you wanted to chime in, or you good with me going to Rico first?
All right. Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Where do you think, Miss Ma'at, where do you think that this brainwashing derived from? Where do you think it came from to get to this point?
Okay, so the conditioning. So you can take layers and layers from the conditionings that we have had. At once our ancestors were prisoners of war, right? So there were certain conditionings that happened then. And it's not just between men and women, it's with our children. We have a certain way that we speak to our children that is toxic. We have a certain way that we address our children and don't listen to our children that is toxic. So, I asked the question before on another panel. I said, do we even really know where we like our basis of who we are and of our relationships? Because we're talking about 400 plus years of trauma being done to us and being done to one another. So, a lot of this is not just coming from now or the past 50 years. We're talking about hundreds of years of these things being done to us. So, and a lot of times, we take our own personal experiences and we project them to the whole community. We say, these 3 Black women or these 3 Black men have done me wrong. So now I'm projecting that to all. How many women do you know that project the man that has, or her own father. Her father has done her wrong, or seen her father do her mother wrong. So then now I'm projecting my father, I'm protecting my exes, I'm protecting all of these handful, sample size of Black men onto the whole community. And then we have Black men doing the same thing to Black women. So where does it come from? It comes from years of being prisoners of war. And then it's when, you know, think of a time, have we ever stopped being traumatized, being in this system that we're in? We have been constantly trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. So that affects our relationships. Just like if you constantly had trauma in, you know, just like somebody died, like a kid dies, and it affects that unit, that mother and father unit when the child dies. So it's the same thing.
Hey Ray, I'm gonna come back to you on this one. I'm gonna come back to you. Ma'at, I understand where you're coming from. I don't want to say we need to go all the way back to slavery. I think it really is rooted within the last 40 to 50 years. But we'll come back. Let me go ahead and get Rick in here. Rick, do you think that this way of thinking is unique to us? And do you think we have an unhealthy psychological view when it comes to interracial dating?
I definitely think that this way of thinking is more critical to us. And than some people. I think that we have kind of like almost like a third world mentality when it comes to getting with people of let's say white people, not other people. There's a part of it like where we should discuss like marrying. When we say interracial, a lot of times we just think about white people, right? But I think when it comes to the brothers, when we think marrying outside of the race, we don't just think white people.
Right.
As I think the sisters think more on the lines of white people. Where I think the brothers, we think we pretty much know we get a better deal no matter where we go outside the race. And it's bad, and I'm not making fun. You know, it's just kind of like the sad truth. I haven't met anyone who disputed that, including women. I wanted to ask my aunt, you know, if when she comes back around, does she feel like the Black man would get a better deal on an individual basis, would get a better deal with a sister than someone else? Because I don't think that.
Well, I want you to save that question. Make sure because there is a segment where that question will be appropriate. So save that question. Do not forget. Or do you want me to write it down? I'll write it down for you.
I'll write it down.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because I called her out, right? But look, also, you talked about like all of the, like the, basically you touched on like the psychosis and you know, all of the things we experienced in the trauma or whatever, right? So I'm gonna give you like two examples. When you look at a timeline or when you look at a map, the first thing you do is look to see where you are, right? Before you can see where you came from or where you're going, the first thing you have to find on that timeline or that map is where you are, right? So when we talk about race relations, I get it when you look at a group mentality, race relations between Blacks and whites can be tense. But on an individual basis, it's a totally different thing. So you got to look at, I don't think everybody's just like have these messages embedded in them that, you know, like white is right. Mm-hmm. What you see right in your face, it's right in your face. that you can go elsewhere and get, again, I go back to a better deal. Mm-hmm. Unless you're just like me and you just, you just in love with the cocoa. You know what I mean? But I dated other people when I was young. I'm gonna say this. I dated everybody. I had a checklist. I dated everybody when I met them. If they were cool and they were that other race that I hadn't dated, I was like, cool. So I've been with Black, white, Asian, whatever, Italian, Jewish, Chinese, Filipino, everything. I mean, I don't want to make myself sound like a whore or nothing, but I did everything, but I still just longed for to be loved by a sister.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Mika, are you available or you? Yeah, because this one's for you, and then we're gonna close out this line of questioning with Ray. I think he has a lot to say about this. Mika, what are your thoughts? Do you think that this way of thinking, where we think that it's an improvement to date outside of our race as an improvement or a better option, do you think that this is something that's unique to us? And do you think that it is an unhealthy psychological view of interracial relationships?
Okay, so I'm gonna say, first of all, it's not unique to us. Mm-hmm. If Asians date outside of their race, they want them to date white. If anybody else wants them to date, they all want them to be with white people, right? It's okay for you to date a white person outside of your race, but it's not necessarily okay for you to date someone who's melanated outside of your race. That's just how it is. So it's not just us who believe, we're not the only ones who's been programmed that way. If an Asian brings a white guy home, they're not going to throw the sink away with the kitchen. They're just kind of like, okay, boom, you know what? At least he's white, right? At the end of the day, at least he's white. If he's not going to be Asian, at least he's white, right? So it's not unique to us, but it is where it becomes the problem is when you feel the need to belittle the black woman or the black man when you go out, right? I think that's our problem. We always want to belittle before we go out because we want to be able to justify. Well, I would say this, if you feel the need to justify to go out, then you got a problem with it anyway. Because for me, if I go outside of my race, I don't need to justify going outside of my race by putting a black man down. I'm just going to say, you know what? This is who I love, and I'm going to call it a day. But we have the tendency and the need and the desire to want to sit up there and put down the person that we left behind. And I think that in and of itself is the problem. It's similar to when I was talking about that conversation with my son. I need you to kind of tell me why, but at the same time, I understood because, I have 3 sons, and I'm very I don't argue with my sons, and I don't like to belittle them through words. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of listening to what they have to say and stuff like that. Now, I'll remind them, I'll say, remember who you're talking to. You might want to change your tone, right? You might want to bring it down an octave or 2 or whatever, but not, I never felt the need as a mother to sit up there and be like, you're beneath me or you need to accept everything a black woman has to give you. So when my 17-year-old ended up with his white girlfriend, I kind of understood why, because I really didn't set him up to be with a really vocal or really argumentative or anything like that type of black girl. And so we understand this may not be reflective of black women as a whole, but definitely black girls, because what are black girls consuming? They're consuming social media. They're acting just like the housewives. They're acting just like Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B. That's who they're emulating because they don't really know no better, because they mamas are twerking to it, and then now they're twerking to it, right? So I can't really when my son decided to date out, I don't think he dated out with the understanding, like, to me, he had to justify, right? But I don't think when he left out, he was like, yeah, I can't stand black girls or this and that. I literally had to rip it out of him, right? So I'm not a supporter of interracial dating. I never will be. I kind of ended up in this place because where we live is 90% white and 10% other, right? And that's what a lot of parents have to grapple with. When you decide to take your child to the suburbs, you are basically setting your child up to be dating interracially. You can't complain about it because it's like, you could have stayed where black people were, but you wanted the American dream and you had to leave and you had to it's just like where we live now. It's more concentrated with black people. I chose to be in the capital because I said I don't want to take my kids to the suburbs where we're completely surrounded by white people. We've been there and we done that, right? But at the same time, when he went to high school, in a high school of 3,000 people, if it's only 90% black in the state, what the highest percentage of black people is going to be at the high school? Probably like 20 to 30%. You know what I mean? So it's like, a lot of times we set ourselves up for our children to date interracially, and so we can't necessarily fault them. Now, if I was somewhere that was heavily, heavily saturated black, and he chose a white girl, I probably would have more wins to complain about it, right? So I think parents also have to actively understand that you got to stop being so quick to run away from black people, right? You gotta actually stick it in and think community and kind of thug it out with black people, because if you don't do that, then basically you are destining, your children's destiny is to date interracially, and so it's something that I'm kind of grappling with right now. So, I mean, you can't. And at this stage in my life, I'll just say this. I'm happy that my sons are choosing girls, no matter. Just girls, period, right? That part, right? So, I take my wins where I can take my wins. And, right. Hopefully, the majority of them will actually end up with black women. But if they don't, then, I mean, it kind of is what it is. So that's my part to that. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to help this boy cook this dinner.
No, you good. I mean, you're good. Ray, if you can, real quick, your thoughts on whether you feel like it's an unhealthy view cycle that we have psychologically when it comes to interracial relations, and then you can pivot and quickly address Ma'ad's point as to whether or not, this comes from 400 years of trauma, or where do you think this comes from?
Well, the whole negative view on black, I mean, I don't understand. Is it asking whether it's having a negative effect on the African American community, us dating outside of our race?
No, we're not there yet. We'll get to that point. We're not there yet. What are you talking about? You're talking about when I say unhealthy psychologically, what I'm talking about is where we see it as I'm going to date someone outside to show these black women X, Y, and Z, or black women saying I'm going to divest from black men and I'm going to date men over here. Like that, that take on it as it's a form of retribution or of some sort. Do you think that is unhealthy psychologically?
From the perspective of a man, when men go and date other races, black men, it's not because we want to show you, or it's very simple when men date outside. When African American men date outside their race, Rico said it earlier. It's very simple. We don't want the extra. We're not that complicated. All that I won't show you type of stuff. No man does this. It's kind of like when men cheat and when women cheat. No man says, I'm going to show her I'm going to cheat on her. That's a woman thing. We don't think like that. We cheat. We want some new stuff. Or she might not be giving it to us. This is just very simple things that we have a bigger, better deal in this particular area. This woman is going to give it to us. And that's as simple as it gets for us to be so simple. I mean, for us to be so simple, it's not arithmetic. It's not calculus here. It's not at all. When we go elsewhere, and it's definitely not because we think they're more attractive. It's very simple. They make it easier on us. Point blank, period. Point blank, period. There's no other way to go about it. Not from the perspective of a woman. I don't know. They're a whole lot more complex than we are. Perhaps they do that. But I've never met a man that's ever said, I'm going to show her. I'm going to find a white woman. I've never heard a man ever say that before. We just are too simple to think like. You just have to dumb everything down to how men think. We think pretty stupid. We dumb down. We go, this is what we want. That's all. And it's not a complex explanation. It's, hey, listen, you're taking this woman, not because we think that they're more attractive. That's the number one assumption. I could tell you that right there. That's one of the number one assumptions, but we definitely don't do that. Black women are gorgeous. What we do say is, I'm tired of arguing. Hey, this is locker room talk. Mm-hmm. When we have these discussions, it's behind closed doors when men can actually speak on break rooms or the locker room somewhere where women are not. Men are saying these things to each other. It's easier, and every man is pretty much saying the same thing. I don't understand why it's such a hard thing to do. Again, when women decide to go cheat, which happens a lot of times I'm going to show him. I'm going to cheat on him. That's complex thinking to us. What we say is, I would like some new stuff. I want some new. Or she ain't giving it to me. It's very simple for us. I don't understand. For a creature that is so simple, more simple than a mole rat, I don't understand why it's so hard to get this. When you start talking about the politics behind it, there's no politics behind us. If all we had to do is if you all was as simple as we were, we would have had y'all figured out 30,000 years ago. It only takes 30 minutes to figure us out.
Right. I want you to Mika had her if she can't use my comb, don't bring her home moment, and she shared that with us. Mm-hmm. I want you to share what you shared with me about your if she can't use my comb, don't bring her home moment as an adult, if you will.
Oh, well, it's been a couple of them.
No. The one specifically about needing to, getting somebody, just that one.
Well, I talk to a white woman as we speak, and not just a white woman, a white woman. And y'all know I said white 2 times. You know that a white woman, freckle, red hair, just super duper white. Not grew up around us white, like extracurricularly white. She's a white woman. So my mom lives in another state. She comes to visit. She comes to visit me. She didn't know that I'm talking to this super duper white woman. And she's if she can't use your comb, don't bring her home woman too. Again, all of us grew up with this. So you understand, we know all the sayings already. So she comes to visit. She didn't know that she was there. When she saw her, she was shocked, but didn't say too much. She didn't know what to say. I can tell the difference in my mother. I came from her. And I was sitting in my room on my recliner, and I just simply said to her, I said, hey, I'm hungry. I said, I'm hungry. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg. I didn't do anything. I said, I'm hungry. She got up, went to the store, brought back food. She made homemade, delicious food, homemade. Not only that, but she put it on a plate, put it on my tray, brought it to me, stood there until I finished eating. When I finished the last morsel, she carried it into the kitchen. My mom, You should just look at the face. Look at my mom's face. She carried it into the kitchen, washed the dishes, and I sat there. I held my hands up. She heated up a warm washcloth, came over there and cleaned my hands of grease, cleaned them all up, and then brought a dry towel, wiped them up, and brought me some peach cobbler. It was incredible. My mom said that was disgusting.
Bro, you sound like Prince Hakeem over there. I'm like, what the heck? Like that, I just see that in movies. I don't.
You said your mom said that was disgusting.
That was disgusting.
Okay.
The whole ride to the airport, it was a pretty awkward ride. I'm just gonna go on and tell you that. She said no woman can be like that. There's something wrong. You see, that's how a lot of our sisters look at that. That's how we used to get served back in the day. You think that there's some Prince Nakeem stuff because you didn't grow up in that era. But a lot of our men grew up with that. A lot of great grandfathers that you had got that type of treatment from our sisters. But because you are,
I'm not lost in the sauce. No, I get it. I'm speaking on, again, I'm on the timeline. I'm looking at where we are, and where we are. That ain't what we typically get in within the race. That's not what we get
anymore.
I don't even think that's what you would.
Don't you do that? You talk to my great grandfather's alive. I don't know if a lot of cats know they great.
No, bro, I agree with you. I'm just speaking on today. I agree with you about the past.
Oh yeah.
But even today, I don't think that's what we're gonna get from even like white women. I think the numbers are dwindling as far as many white women who would treat us like that as well. I think you have to go to Thailand or somewhere like that.
You got to blame that on Real Housewives of Atlanta and hip hop.
Yeah, they snapping too now.
I want to go ahead and move on to the next question I have. Now, I had watched this documentary on YouTube. It was a while ago, and it was about the Black Panthers, about women in the Black Panther Party movement. And one of the ladies in the documentary said that the feminists, the white women who were in the feminist movement, were trying to actively recruit them. They said that you need to be with us, and we need to rally against all men, whether white, black. We need to rally against all men. And so the sisters in the Black Panther Party refused. They said, no, if we break away from our movement, from our men, then it'll weaken the movement. Now, I don't know exactly when this was, but I know in the late 60s, there was the Loving versus Virginia case, which decriminalize interracial relationships or interracial love. And when it became acceptable for black men to date and marry white women or non-blacks, we did so. And some of these guys were actually Black Panthers and black revolutionaries that had white women. So when the time came to show the same loyalty to the sisters the way they showed to us, we didn't. And it gave birth to the saying, talking black but sleeping white, right? And we know that we've seen this in a lot of sitcoms. We've seen the episode with Martin where there was a revolutionary guy, and when he saw the white woman, all that revolutionary talk went out the window. We saw it in I'ma Get You Sucker when Keenan Ivory Wayne's character went to that black revolutionary, and the guy had a white wife and he had white kids, and even Chris Rock had on his stand up, he had a bit where he talked about his uncle was the most racist man that he knew, but he was married to a white woman, right? So talking black but sleeping white. So the question that I'm going to pose to you, Mika, is can you be pro-black and in support of interracial relationships?
No, absolutely not. You know, and that's the thing. But everybody don't have to be pro-black. That's what I've come to find out. It's like, but don't say you're pro-black if you're married to a white woman. You just, it's like an oxymoron. It just don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? That's like me showing up to the party with, you know, Steve Vanilla. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, but fight the people, fight Whitey. But I'm going to get into bed with Whitey. It don't make no sense. Like, it's just honestly, like, it just don't make no sense. Like, but at the same time, everybody has their role. I don't think every black person has to be pro-black. Like, they don't. And this is what I tell people. It's like, even when I tell my kids, it's like, when you have kids, black men will always make this argument. They'll be like, or some black women, but they'll be like, "What if you have a mixed kid? That mixed kid is black regardless. No, that kid is beige. You see what I'm saying? Like, that kid is beige. That kid is not black. Like, you know, like, you know, and of course, I understand my color. I understand that I look like I'm probably a mixed, right? But I'm not. I'm not directly mixed. I'm literally lighter than both of my parents, right? Now, I'm not going to say that my grandparents weren't mixed with anything, but whose grandparents in the U.S. are not? You know what I'm saying? Like, whose grandparents aren't mixed with something, if we're honest, right? So literally, I'm lighter than both of my parents. My mom is like almost caramel. My dad is brown, and all the kids come out this color. But, you know, of course, I have black features. But let me go back. So, yeah, you just absolutely cannot be pro-black. Like, you cannot be, and pro-black just means you are in full support of blackness to the extreme, right? Like, you literally, if you got to go 50 miles to get some black groceries, then you're going to go 50 miles to get some black groceries. I think a lot of people would like to say they're pro-black, and they're really not. Like, if I'm honest myself, I feel like I was pro-black, but I'm not going to pay $70 to a black person for something that I could get at Walmart for $20. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So even me myself, as you know, rebellious or against the system as I would like to think I am, I'm cheap. So I don't think being cheap is a pro-black person's game either. Because, you know, a lot of times to support black people, you got to pay a little more because they don't have the type of connections that someone else would make. So, no, absolutely not. You cannot be dating interracially and say you're pro-black.
Rick, your thoughts?
It sucks, but I hate that I disagree. First off, I don't know, like, if there's a rule list of being pro-black or if it's that one eliminating factor. Like, oh, if you date outside of the race, then you're not pro-black. But if you got on, I'm not going to name brands because I don't know what kind of trouble that could cause. But, you know, we wearing all of these brands and they ain't black. You know, I think pro-black is kind of like just something we say at this point because we really don't force ourselves to sit down and actually think about what it requires to be pro-black. When it comes to who I share my bed with, I'm pro-black. But there's a lot of stuff that I just don't even think about. I just do that really doesn't benefit my culture at all. So I think that, you know, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, a person may be very, very, they could be hyper vigilant to, you know, like in support of Black causes with their money, with their time, with their hands. You know, they may be, you know, very, very active in the embetterment of Black people, but they may be married to a white woman, like in the movie you mentioned the brother that, you know, the leaders of the People's Revolution. As you can see, he had his whole family on. You know, it was comical. I get it. You mentioned the sisters in the Black Panther movement, and they remained loyal, and some of the brothers didn't. I think that is like propaganda and it's divisive, because it may indeed be something that you read, but I don't think there's any way you can tell me that, you know, 100 out of 100 sisters in the Black Panther movement stayed with, you know, the Black Panther Party, while, you know, brothers would just, you know, exit stage left and marrying a bunch of Susan.
Well, I didn't. I'm not saying that they did it in mass, but the phrase "talking black and sleeping white" came from somewhere, and we've heard that.
No, I get it, but what I'm saying is, I think that people highlight stuff like that to keep me mad at my aunt. You know what I mean? Like, and to keep mad at me. Bottom line is, I'm just gonna look at my aunt and be like, my aunt cool or my aunt not cool. I don't care nothing about that stuff, but I think stuff like that keeps us at odds. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be at odds with my sister. I just want, you know, I want us to stop obligating each other to stay with each other. Stop trying to make each other feel bad about leaving, instead to focus on making each other feel better about staying. Because I want to make my sisters feel better about being in my presence. And I may not have done a great job about that in the past, but I definitely want to make sisters feel better about being in my presence now. But I want them to make me feel better about being in their presence as well. I'm not really receiving a lot of love in that department. But I don't think it's something that we should be like guilt tripping somebody into doing, or saying, hey, you ain't a brother if you ain't, or whatever. Like, instead, like, we need to look in the mirror. The men need to look in the mirror, the sisters need to look in the mirror and ask, are we really offering the best deal? I mean, yeah, you know, somebody might have a higher credit score or a higher bank account or whatever, but nobody should be nicer to me than the two sisters that's right here in my face. Nobody. And when I walk out the house, it's not like that. I think I was talking to you about a month ago. About a month ago, I took 3 dogs out, was walking. I was, you know, downtown DC, all over DC. All over DC, I got all kinds of love from everybody else but my sisters. And I'm a friendly guy. Like, I speak to everybody. Sisters would not even speak back to me. I mean, in a day where I literally got spoken to by hundreds of people, probably 2 sisters said hi to me. Probably 2 sisters said hi back. They didn't know me. Now, when people know who I am or whatever, they treat me a little different. But the sisters that didn't know me, they just kind of frowned at me like I was just like, dang, I was really kind of heartbroken. But I'm gonna still speak to them because I'm waiting for their return, you know. Mm-hmm. Or I'm not gonna penalize the good ones for the ones that maybe aren't so good, because I'm not gonna internalize and then stop speaking or stop showing love because I may run into Mika or I may run into my aunt, and then if I got an attitude because of the 99 sisters that I ran into before them, then I missed the opportunity to be, you know, to share love with them. So I mean, you know, I just keep on trying. I keep on trying. And that's what we all need to be doing. regardless of who we marrying right now, I think if we start there, then the trend of marrying outside will dissipate because the treatment will be better. Like, my woman ain't got to make a whole bunch of money or have a whole bunch of degrees or whatever to treat me nice. Just treat me nice. Mm-hmm. And then I ain't going nowhere. Right. It ain't like the movie say, there's no place like home. But if home is jacked up, you know what I mean? You're going to go get a hotel room.
What movie was that? Back to the Future?
Nah, that was the Wiz, Dorothy, the Wiz, the Wizard of Oz or the Wiz.
I just wanted to make sure you put out a movie reference. I wanted to make sure.
I'm sorry,
I'm giving you a hard time.
The Wiz, we're gonna go with the Wiz version since I'm looking like Richard Pryor in that joint right now.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. But same question. I'm gonna go to you then to Ray, and then I have one last question in this segment. And I want that one, just quick answers because I want to hurry up and move on to the next segment. But you could take your time with this one. Do you think you can be pro-Black and be supportive of interracial relationships?
So I think it's important, and I think Rico kind of touched on this, but when we define pro-Black, so I think we need to first define pro-Blackness. I think we all have different definitions of what it means to be pro-Black in our community. So when I think of pro-Blackness, I think about me using my gifts, my talents, resources, to uplift, build, and progress the Black community. So progressing the Black community and what that actually looks like. And a lot of times, when we're talking about ourselves, us being Black or being pro-Black, we're talking about it on a very individualistic level. We're talking about right now in our time. So to be pro-Black also means that you are thinking generationally ahead. So I don't even use the term pro-Black. I consider myself to be a Pan-Africanist. So I believe that, for me, it's global, right? So I think that's one thing that we miss is that we're looking at just what is around us. When we're looking for our partners, we're looking for people that is like in our neighborhood. I always tell people, like, when they say, well, I can't find a suitable Black person. Well, where did you go? Where did you travel? Like, I was in Louisiana. My husband was in New York, so when we had met in Louisiana, but when we started actually officially dating, he was still in New York. And so, the thing is, it's just like when we're talking about it. So to answer the question, do I believe that you can be? No, because I believe that is an oxymoron. Because as a Black woman, I have certain experiences. My husband has different experiences. It's up to us to come together to balance the equation out, to help our children understand what it's like to be Black in this system, in this society. So my perspective is going to be a Black woman's perspective. His perspective is going to be a Black man's perspective. And so it makes no sense. We do this as a community. We look in the mirror and then we go and we fight other people's battles. And when you look in the mirror, everyone else does this. They are deciding what is best for the person that is looking back at them. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about, Elder Baba Kaba, he talks about that we all coon on some level. So when you go to that job, a certain level of coonery is happening because you got to smile in the white man's face or do whatever you got to do, And so, but there are certain things that I don't have to coon over, quote unquote, coon over, because I can dictate and be very intentional on what I'm going to do for not just right now, not so just I can be comfortable right now, but that generationally, what the people that come after me can be comfortable, that they don't have to be having these same conversations, these same discussions, that we don't have to still be having this quote unquote hate against the black man and the black woman, don't have to have this so-called hate. I'm very intentional in what I do, what I say to my children. But my children are not confused on what it means to be quote unquote pro-black or be a Pan-Africanist or whatever, whatever you want to call it. Is it okay for you not to be pro-black? Yes, it is okay for you not to be pro-black. That just means that I am not going to build with you. That's all that means. It means that we're not going to build together because you don't have necessarily the same mindset as me. I do believe that it requires two black parents in order to get this thing right for our community. And, I think that we have to be very careful of what we did, because when we go back in time and we say, and this is, I hear it a lot about, we talk about, well, there's some mixture, we're all mixed, but that is actually has been debunked because all of our great grandmothers and whomever were not getting sexually assaulted. Every single one of them were not getting sexually assaulted. So we have to make sure that we understand that there are some of us that are not just, that we're not all just mixed up like a lot of us tend to believe that we are. And what happens with that is when we use that verbiage, we are using that as an excuse. We're using it as an excuse to go and just, what we call divesting. So, I think it takes very intentional work. But it's okay. If you say, I'm not pro-black, I'm not a Pan-Africanist, I'm not unapologetically trying to do this, that is okay. And that just means that we just not working together. We're not building together because I do have a different ideology. That's what that means to me.
Ray, do you agree or disagree with Ma'at?
Yeah, I absolutely disagree with her. I could not. First, I have a question that I wanted to ask earlier. If it's okay for me to ask that question. You made reference to us earlier, Mott, earlier after slavery, us going through mental anguish and, how it affects us in the future, which is absolutely true. A lot of things that we do did come from that. But this is the question, because I hear that a lot, that after slavery, this is what contributed to the behavior, and this is why a lot of our relationships are not lasting, and how sisters act toward us and how we act toward sisters. I've heard that referenced a lot of times. But this is my question to that, because prior, during the 60s and before, after slavery, how often were black men and black women married? Black men and black married women stayed married forever. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, they all had 12 kids. All of them got married and they stayed married for 70 years and they died together. Can we all agree that that generally happened 60s and prior to that? That's something that happened post-slavery. So the whole idea that after slavery, we were not able to coincide together, black men and black women, that's absolute fallacy. This is not true at all. Until something happened, something else happened.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think other things happen. I do think the feminist movement had an impact on Black women's mindset. I do not believe that Black women should have ever taken part in the feminist movement. I believe in womanism. So that's a whole different topic. But we have to understand my parents, my grandparents as well, were married for more than 50 years, had 9 children. But can I say that that was the most balanced relationship? No, it was not. And so the thing about it is, what we're talking about too is we cannot dismiss integration. We cannot dismiss integration into the conversation. We cannot dismiss the fact that we were healing after our ancestors were prisoners of war, and we cannot dismiss that there was something that happened within integration that also caused this rift. So there was a study, and it said that the most oppressed that you are is the most oppressed that a Black person feels is when they decide that they want to go outside of their race. So that's why you saw a lot of in the South, the things that were happening in the South, where you feel that oppression, and so you want to go where you think the water is colder. You want to go where you think it's better for you. A lot of times when Black people, and I'm not gonna use it as everyone, because every relationship is different. But what happens is Black people tend to start assimilating into that non-Black, quote unquote, culture because they feel that it is better. And so, while that's true, we cannot say that everything is because of slavery. That was just a part of it. The elders, said that we were just rudely interrupted, right? So we were rudely interrupted when slavery was just a piece. It was just a small part of our history. That's why I don't necessarily like to talk about it. When I introduce we homeschool our kids. So when I introduce Blackness to my kids, I don't introduce them to slavery because it was a blimp in our history. But it doesn't mean that it did not have a great impact. And we have something called epigenetics, and how our DNA and how trauma, all of that is transmuted to the next generation. That's why I speak a lot about healing, because just like we have transmuted and we have sent trauma down generationally, now we can start doing that with healing. We can start sending healing down through the generations.
Yeah, that is that's interesting, and I'd like to explore that more, but I want to transition to the next segment. I have one more question regarding race loyalty, and if we can keep this particular question as short as you can, so we can move on to the next segment, because the next segment is about, do Black women hate Black men, and do Black men hate and reject Black women? And I really want to get to that segment. But so let's close out this segment on race loyalty. Dr. Umar Johnson, I'm assuming everybody's familiar with the great doctor, was on the Breakfast Club. Well, he's been on there multiple times, but he was on there last year. And he said that if you want to have the black family and you value the Black family, that you have to want to protect it. And if you want to protect it, that you have to be against interracial marriage, right? I mean, he spoke about interracial marriage and interracial relationships almost as though it was an existential threat to the Black community. And so the question that I want to pose, and Ma'at, I'm going to begin with you, is, do you feel that interracial relationships and interracial marriages represent, well, at least among Black people, represent an existential threat to Black love and to the Black community writ large? And if we can keep our responses on this one short so we can get to the next segment.
Okay, so a threat to Black love and what else?
The Black community, building the Black community.
Okay, all right, so I'll try to be short. So yes, I do think that it can be seen as a threat, because we have to understand not necessarily individualistic, because there's a lot of people who try to throw their individual little situations and say, oh no, but this person is like, they talk about Black issues. It's more about that split mind and the product of that. And so when you procreate and you have that child, and there's going to be a split mind there, a split allegiance, a split identity. And so you know, historically, we can even like look at things that have happened that when we're trying to build our community. Now it happens with us too, right? Black people have infiltrated and have brought down certain things. But when it comes to me, I'm just like, you know, I already got to look at the ones that, you know, look like me. You know, I don't have time. You know, Muhammad Ali said it, right? He said, I don't have time with the sea of white people out here. I don't have time to pick, I'm paraphrasing, pick and choose like who is like who's the threat, you know? So that's the thing. When you talk about like interracial couples, them having children, it's that split identity, split mind, split allegiance, and then they can you know, you have to wonder like if they're going to actually help you or they're going to hinder you building.
Okay. Ray, your thoughts?
I do agree with her to a large extent on that particular topic. I do think that dating outside of our race, it is a threat to the Black community. We have to have Black people mating with Black people in order for Black people to continue. It's necessary, and I don't disagree with her much with that topic at all. I'm just upset at why it's happening. Why is my thing. So
okay, Mika. You still? I wasn't sure if you were done. Go ahead, finish.
Well, you listen to. We should. This is the question. Which is more of the threat? The fact that a lot of brothers are going outside to date other races, or that we have to do that? Which one is more of the threat, and why we go outside of our race? What are the reasons that you're hearing? So is the threat that we're doing what you're telling us, what you're making us do, or is the threat that we're actually doing it? Is the person that threw the punch the one to blame, or the one that punched back after he threw it? This is all a response. We're only responding to what's happening. And the threat, if you ask me what the threat is why is the person that threw the punch first. I mean, it's not an actual fight, but it is an actual fight. So we can go back and forth with it being a threat, because I do believe that is a threat. And I think that's pretty much the only thing that me and you have completely agreed on. Now the question is, who is the one sending us to the others?
Okay, so you're saying Black women are sending you to others?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, well we'll save that for the next segment, because that falls in line with Black women. You know, do Black women love us, hate us? Do Black men love Black women, hate Black women? So we'll save that for that segment. Mika, your thoughts on this? No.
Eat something else. Sorry, y'all.
Do you need me to repeat the question, or are you good?
No. So okay, yeah. Just repeat it one more time.
The question was, do you think that the increase in interracial relationship poses the increase among Black people with interracial relationship? Does it pose an existential threat to Black love and the Black community, like rebuilding the Black community?
I think it definitely does. I think it makes beige the standard instead of black the standard, right? And you know, people can be as mad at me as they want, but you have mixed kids, they're beige, they're not black, right? And I think it's very interesting, because we can say we can kind of say Black women are to blame, right? Ray said, you know, do you blame the person who took the punch, or do you blame the person who punched back, right? I think that, and again, I think it's hard for women, for Black women not to fall prey to this. I think especially when European standards have always been presented as the standard. But it's like, we really have to stop using that as an excuse, because we pulled ourselves out of it, and there's all kind of Afrocentric alternatives to beauty right now, right? But they still continually seek European standards of beauty. So it's like, am I going to pick the white girl, or am I going to pick the one who's trying to look like the white girl? You feel me? So I kind of get what Ray is saying, because am I going to pick the white girl who naturally got white hair, or am I going to pick the black girl who wanted flat white looking hair on her head? I mean, it's getting ridiculous out here in these streets, right? We know how to take care of our hair now. There's no excuse for us to continue relaxing our hair. There's really no excuse for us to continue to try to make ourselves look European anymore. There's no excuse. There's all kind of other stuff. There's all kind of products out here for us. There's no excuse, right? So when you talk about this threat, I completely agree with Ray as far as Black women kind of supporting this threat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we really got to start being ourselves and making ourselves the standard of beauty. And then we also got to be ourselves in the way of not falling prey to stereotypes. You know, we got to stop telling each other, you know, you not Black enough because you don't talk like this, or you don't read this kind of thing, or you don't listen to this kind of music. You're not Black enough. We do a lot of that crap too. So I think that I just think we got to get back to ourselves. I think we got to get back to the dignity that's associated with Blackness. And I think once we get back to that dignity, it's going to be easy for us to consistently choose each other. But I think in the scheme of things, as things are right now, I think we do make it really hard to choose each other, because we're not being uniquely ourselves, and we're perpetuating something that's kind of been forced on us, or something that is put out there as desirable. And I'll end with this. You know, people will talk about, Black women especially, they'll talk about, I can't be in the corporate world, they don't like my hair, they don't like this, they don't like that. I've never worn a black, I'm telling you, and people can say it's because I'm light skinned. I don't buy that shit, because I'm very Black looking. Like, none of my features are white. I'm very Black looking. So when I wear my hair in these Afrocentric styles, and I braid it, and I do all this kind of stuff with it, they be amazed. I've never had nobody be like, oh my God, you wearing your hair like that? I think a lot of Black women go out and they use natural as an excuse for being messy with their hair and messy with how they do it. There's a very dignified, neat way to wear your hair with Black styles and shit like that. I've never had, they literally be like, oh my God, oh, they just be so excited every time I change my hair. And I don't wear anything that looks white. I don't do none of that looks white. I put twists in my hair. I put braids in my hair. Everything looks Black. Afro, whatever. But like I say, we just got to get back to dignity. And until we get back to being dignified Black women, we're going to consistently force our Black men to choose something else. We got to stop twerking on tables. That's where I'm going to end. We got to stop twerking on tables and fighting to twerk on tables and doing TikToks. That's it.
Rick, I'm coming to you. I know you want to. Yeah. It's on you. It's your turn. If go ahead and answer the question, and I know you wanted to say something real quick to Mika, and then we'll transition to the next segment.
Give me the question again.
Okay. So the question was, do you think the increase of interracial relationships among Black people poses an existential threat to Black love and the Black community, like rebuilding the Black community?
Yes. Yeah, in a major way. But the threat is there. I think that it is not the cause, though. I think it's the effect. But I think it is that effect is having a greater effect. It's multiplying. It's mushrooming or whatever. It's definitely it's definitely not good for our race long, down the line. Mm-hmm. But I keep saying there's a difference in looking at race as a group or dealing with someone of another race as an individual, right? As a whole, I understand how beneficial and even important it is for me to be with a sister. I don't even want to use myself as an example because I'm gonna be with a sister, but I understand how important or beneficial it is for a black man to be with a sister, right? But I'm 50 and I've never been married. I can't sit here and say that I would look at a 20-year-old and say he should choose this over being married and having someone that he can say I'm hungry to and not have to fight with them or whatever. And I'm not saying that you got to fight with every sister. I've met some beautiful sisters over the years, and I'm talking about look-wise and just personality-wise. I've met some beautiful sisters over the years. But it's not what, it's just not as easy. I'm surprised when I meet them every time. I mean, I was speaking to someone recently and I was just explaining that they were different from what I'm accustomed to. And so that's why I kind of wanted to make sure, sorry about that paranoid little piece of thread of fabric or whatever. But I wanted to make sure that that they knew that I felt, that I saw that they were different. And I appreciated that, but it's not what I run into. It's not normal when I meet or when I see a sister like these sisters who don't have all of this other stuff that they call enhancements. It's not normal for me to see that. It's amazing, and those other sisters can't compare to that. They do that when they do those things, it hurts me because I love them and I see them and it hurts me. I'm just like, man, why are you doing that? Mika talked about the hair. I literally don't care. A sister can have, her hair could be just like mine. I'll pick hers out. She can pick mine out. I literally do not care. We can go get shape-ups together. We can go to the barber shop. I don't want that other stuff. She can wrap her hair like my aunt. She can braid her hair. I don't want that other stuff. But when I say, hey, I don't like those things, I get attacked. I get, oh, you're judgmental. I'm not judging you. Just like I'm not judging the dudes who date outside of the race. I'm not judging them. I just don't want it. I mean, I had a couple of dates. I could just, if social media was around when I was a kid, it'd probably be some post up about me dating a white woman or an Asian woman, an Italian woman, a Jewish woman. Yeah, I went out with them. I did what I did. I tried to be a little player. But I always wanted to go home though. Yeah. I honestly just really did those things because I was, because it was like you got stripes for it, Right. The dudes on the blocks, hey man, Rico, they just, you got stripes for it, but for real, some of them was real cool. Don't get it twisted, because if it wasn't cool, I wouldn't have went out with them. But at the end of the day, I still wanted to go home, and I made that clear to them and everybody else. Home is home. That's what I want. Yeah. Even if I leave out here and find an Asian woman, she's gonna have to be she gonna have to be one of them ones that look like, coffee. So
I know.
I want to get to the next segment because this segment ran a little long. So yes. So I want to go on to the next one because this is where I think it gets a little bit more spirited. I want to start. Let me pull up this video. She's a content creator. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Art Kathy, and she talks about the dynamic between black men and black women. So I'm going to pull this up quickly, and then let me. I'm going to pull it up because I know 2 videos are going to be popping up. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right.
We put so much pressure on ourselves.
Black men.
I'm
gonna say
hold
it
on,
from me to you. This is
hold
just
on.
straight up.
Let me. That's not it. Let me pull. Give me 1 second. All right. So here we go.
Actually refreshing
Black
to hear you
women,
say
80% of them, they don't like you. 80%, I am probably sure it's more, but at least 80% of black women in this day and age, it don't matter how old or young they are, they have a general dislike and hatred for you. That's your real climate, brother. See, I'm not telling you something that you ain't already felt. I'm telling you something that you know. I think it's more too. I truly think it's more too. I think it's more too. And I'm tired of being the one that's not talking about it. I've said this. This is one of the main reasons I don't have a lot of black female friends. I really don't, y'all. I don't. I couldn't imagine what it would be like as a black man to want to fuck these bitches, to want to wife them up and have babies. But the majority of your population, you want a black woman, right? But these hoes is crazy. These hoes really crazy out here. Like, it's an abundance of you that think that all men are dogs, but we all know it means black men. You don't ever roast white men, Mexican men, Indian men, Asian men. You don't ever have nothing bad to say about them. But when we say all men are dogs, you really think it's black men that are dogs. Let's just call a thing a thing. 2021, I swear to God, this the year where the truth about to rain on your head, because we can't even hide from it. You're showing us exactly how you feel. We can have a real conversation with you. If you're on Clubhouse, follow me on Clubhouse at ArtCathy1. There are rooms. I saw a room the other night, and it doesn't matter where I am. You can just overhear black women talking about the relationship conversation, and I'll be like, oh, Lord, here we go with this shit. Because the undertone of all relationship conversations is black men ain't shit. Why these black men ain't doing this? I can't bond with y'all, sis. I cannot bond with y'all when you have a general dislike and vitriol and hatred for our male counterpart. Do you not understand how goddamn psychotic that is?
So, that was Art Kathy. I do want to apologize for the language, but she was keeping it real. She was a little bit spirited. I will say that unfortunately, a lot of brothers feel this way. We can feel the contempt, we can feel the disdain when black women talk to us or they talk about us. So I have to ask the question, and Mika, this question goes to you first. Why do black women hate black men, if they hate black men?
I think, they definitely hate black men, but I think they hate them because it reminds them of their own downfalls, of their own deficiencies, right? And so when I got to look at you, you are a reflection of me, right? So it's one of them things like, and this is something I call cookie jar syndrome, but it's like, and literally you won't hear it again because I'm the only one who say it, but it's like, it's like somebody is, okay, it's like when you catch your kids, right, and they sneak it in the cookie jar, right, and then you catch them, and they more mad at you for catching them than they are at themselves for doing it. It's like, how dare you catch me doing what I'm doing? I'm mad, right? But it's like, you're the one wrong. So why are you mad at me? Right? All I'm doing is telling you where you're deficient at. Right? That is all you is the reason why you're deficient. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. And so the black woman hates the black man because the black man is a reminder of how you raised your son in a crazy manner, to where he go out in the world and he ain't got no respect for black women because of all the trauma that you done put on him as his mother, right? It's just, I mean, and I struggle with this all the time. I struggle with the fact that people are amazed at how I talk about my sons or how I treat my sons. Like, it really should not be an amazement. Like, you know, the black man is who you going to expect to take care of you. He's going to be who you expect to protect you. He's going to be who you expect to pay your bills. He's going to be who you expect to be the father to your children. So if you got all these expectations on this man, what the... you said language, so I don't know what all I could say.
No, you go ahead. It's just I don't like when you're saying hoes and bees and, you know, everything else you good.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll say this because I love the S-bomb, right? So, like, what the fuck is so wrong with this man telling you that he needs you to change some things? If you're going to want to depend on him for everything, right? And so I'm going to tell you how messed it up, because I'm a single woman, right? I'm going to tell you how messed up black men are. Black men don't even know how to accept being treated well. If you treat them well, they have so much suspicion for you as a black woman. They're like, what she set me up for? I literally have had men think I'm setting them up to get robbed. I have had men thinking, you know, I do a nice thing for them. Okay, so I'm doing this nice thing for you, but I'm setting you up because I want to take your money, or there's something else that I want to get from you. Black men are literally out here shell-shocked. They don't believe any woman will do anything nice for them. So, like, it's like, I don't know. That's all I can say. It's like, man, it's bad. It's bad out here. But I'll say this.
Hey, somebody got a TV on in the background. It's coming across.
Right, yeah. David, what did I tell you? I told you turn the TV down. Turn the TV down.
Thank you, Stan, in the chat for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, I mean, I'm a pause it because I'm about to go wring my son's neck. But yeah.
Yeah.
Black on black crime.
So
that's black on black crime.
So Rick, what do you think? Do you believe that black women hate us? Or like, why do you think they hate us? If you think they hate us.
It's hard for me to say that black women hate us. I feel some hate, but then there are the black women that I know, and I don't feel a lot of hate from like that. Like when I'm out in the streets, okay, I feel like I get some love depending on, I guess, what car I'm driving, something like that, or what clothes I got on, or whether my hair done, or I feel like things matter to the sisters that don't matter to other people. And I get why some people say they feel like black women hate us, but it's just hard for me to say that because I know, because I get a lot of love personally. Just not in my relationships, usually they're not as bad as like what some people say. I usually pick some pretty decent people, or at least they're pretty decent for a good little while. I mean, I don't know what be happening, man. I know they don't feel like love coming from them. I say that. I'm not gonna say it feels like hate, because I think some people just really be faking. I think they say they hate us so that they can do whatever they want to do. But at the end of the day, they know who to come. They know who to come home to too. Mm-hmm. I think that they just, want to wild out, and they use all of that stuff. I've been through stuff with this person or that person, and then I'm gonna try this, and then they know where home is too, though. So I think it's a lot of talk because people don't want to be accountable. They don't want to do the nice thing. They don't want to do the work. And so it's easier to say, sisters let me down, so I'm going to be rude to sisters or be a thug or whatever, than to try to, just be there for the ones who are receptive. And I think sisters need to do the same thing. Be there for the ones who deserve it. Don't throw all of us out, and then that will become contagious. But when people can look and see us getting along, then they want what we have. Right now, it's just not a lot of examples. I mean, I'm in Southeast DC. There's not a lot of examples that I see, but I'd like to see more examples. Though.
Ma'at, with your friends, sisters, I'm sure you heard a lot of talk about how Black men are responsible from everything to single mothers to global warming. You probably heard a lot of negative things about Black men. Do you believe, by and large, that Black women hate Black men? Or do you believe it's just a frustration?
So it's pain. We're hurt. A lot of us are hurt. We it's easier to play the blame game, to acknowledge that you're in pain. It's hard to say that you need a Black man, right? Like, it's hard to say I need a Black man to do this with. And I think vice versa. It might be hard for men to say that as well. So, a lot of us, because when I was listening to the video and she was saying, talking about hating Black men, and then she also said that she does not, have Black women friends. I thought about how it's not just that we hate like Black women or hating Black men and vice versa. Like, the sisterhood is broken. Like, we can't even hold each other accountable. I should be able to pick up the phone, call whomever up and say, hey, like, you shouldn't be behaving like this. Somebody should be, I've been married for 14 years, almost 15 years. Women should be able to come to me and their business will not be on the street. And I give them wise counsel. I don't tell them to leave their husband. Right. I tell them to, try this, work this out, understanding the difficulty and the roads that you have to take when we're doing this together, when we're it's different. Being Black in this system, in this country, is not an easy thing for us. And so I do allow grace for the Black man. I do allow grace for the Black woman. When we talk about our image and what we try to portray to the world, that's a conditioning. So a lot of times I say, I'm like, man, why is she wearing, like, why is she looking like that? Why are you wearing that weave? Why are you wearing them pounds of eyelashes? But then I also understand that you have been conditioned to think that that's what you should look like because of the standard of beauty that has been constantly presented to you. We talk about one hand, we talk about We want our sisters to look a certain way. But then on the other hand, we also see men looking at, you know, these Instagram models. So we're just like, okay, which one is it? Which one are you wanting? Which one are you attracted to? Like, you know, so it's a lot of things that happen. When you even talk about men being pushed out of the home, and then we kind of accepting the crumbs that the government had, you know, gave us. There's also those things that have happened that have presented our men in a bad, you know, presented our men in a bad light, but it also presented our women in a bad light. See, the thing is like the balance, the accountability on both sides. I can sit here as a Black woman who has been hurt by Black men, but that did not change my perception of Black men. I still intentionally chose to be with a Black man and raise Black children. Because, you know, so it's one of those things that I think that we are just not acknowledging the pain that we're in. It's okay to say, you know, a lot of times, and I go back to Ray when he said, like, it's locker room talk. But let's have these conversations with Black women. And if you can't have this conversation with a certain Black woman, then that ain't the woman for you. You know, it's just like, I've heard people say to me, like, well, where are the women like you? We exist. Mary. We're here. We're around Mary. Here. You know?
I will say this in fairness, right? Okay. I'll say this in fairness. In a platform like this is like the UN ceasefire zone, where we can talk and everybody gets a chance to get their opinions heard. Okay. Many times when men are talking to women, the moment they get upset, the conversation is over. Like, you have to, like, and this goes into the next segment about, you know, well, actually it is this segment about how we're brought up. Men are brought up to be mindful of girls' feelings and to provide and protect and to never hit. And Black girls are raised to don't take no shit off of men. You know, provide for yourself, right? They're not taught to care about boys' feelings or the feelings of males, right? And even conversation, like for as much as women say that they are better communicators, I just don't find that to be the case, right? You have 4 issues with communication. There are 4 issues with communication, 4 problems. The first being escalation. There's escalation, invalidation, there's conflict avoidance, and there is a negative interpretation, right? And so with escalation, oftentimes if a woman, you know, a lot of women, they feel like to win the argument, they have to be the loudest or they'll talk over you. So they make their point, and then when the man makes his point, they escalate the argument. You know, they'll keep raising their voice. And so naturally, because men are taught to be mindful of women's feelings, and, you know, that old saying goes, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, a man is just going to stand down because he doesn't want to get physical. So that's one tactic that a lot of women use to win arguments. Another one is invalidation. We listen to women's concerns, but when we express our concerns, they invalidate it. Well, no real man will think like that, or you need to man up, as if our concerns don't matter. Right. And then it forces us to avoid conflict or to withdraw from the conversation, to avoid anything that could lead to a Black woman getting upset because you cannot win an argument with her because she's not willing to listen. So to say that you know, a lot of women out there, I mean, it's been my experience, and I think it's been a lot of men's experience, that you just don't get far with women, and they will play the woman card. And another thing before I move on to Ray, because you talked about women being held accountable. Women, a lot of women are bullies. They are like emotional terrorists. If they don't get their way, they're going to blow everything up. That's how they behave. And if you have another woman who disagrees with them, let's say like you and Mika, clearly you have a different viewpoint from a lot of other women. Oh, online, they're going to call you all kind of pick-me's. They're going to try to shame you. Yeah. The same tactics that they use on men, they use to shame and bully women who think like you out of the space. But this is what we have to deal with. So, and I know that you've dealt with that. So I'm just saying it's not exactly the easiest to communicate with a lot of women. Go ahead.
Can I say? Yeah. So I think that understanding our communication styles are different. And so when you're in a relationship, you have to learn that other person's way of communicating. And so that is one thing that, it's a skill. It's a learned skill. Like, you don't come into the world understanding how to communicate. And so I think that, you have to be on both sides. You have to be coming to it and really wanting to work out whatever is going on. Because I know that women can be manipulators. Like, women can manipulate their tails off. I have we have 2 sons and we have 2 daughters. And so, I have to balance that out and have to say, okay, like, you're trying to manipulate the situation. You can't do certain things to a boy, to your brother, and then, and not expect something. We talked, the last time I was on here, I talked about that whole idea of like masculinity versus masculinity, right? Like, a lot of times that women are trying to go head to head with a man, when in all actuality, we can just use our femininity to actually de-escalate a situation. And, but a lot of women are trying to go, and just logic too. Men appreciate logic, So a lot of times, like, it's really up to the really to understand the person that you're with, and if they have your best interests at heart, and that's the thing, because I think a lot of times we don't go in there like really with like good faith in a situation. Like, when we're having an argument, we're just trying to win the argument. And that's the issue. And so that's why I say, like, accountability, and what does that look like as women, as men, and then in a relationship. The thing is, the discomfort is going to be there. I said a long time ago, I've said this to women I'm friends with. I've said this to my husband. I've said, we're going to have uncomfortable situations. We have to be willing to have those uncomfortable situations, and then still know that on the other side of that uncomfortable situation, we're still going, you still going to be my sister. You still going to be my man on the other side of that uncomfortable situation. That uncomfortable conversation may last some time. It may last hours. It may last days, but we still have to be able and willing to have those uncomfortable conversations and be able to call one another out. So I don't know exactly how that looks, because I try to go to conversations with good faith, but I do know that there are women who are just trying to win the argument. So I guess the conversation that we need to have at some point is, how do we have conversations and communicate with one another, and not try to win the argument, not try to manipulate one another, not just trying to say like my feelings and my emotions mean more than your feelings and your emotions.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to move on to Ray. What it looks like is when men have conversations with each other. Like, men have conversations with each other and we'll argue, and that's the end of it. There's no grudge that hey, I'm going to hold on to something, because women sometimes tend to be grudge holders and be very passive aggressive, right? And when they hold a grudge, anybody who is associated with that person that they have a grudge with, they have a problem with. And I think there's a larger argument, a larger discussion to be had on that. But I want to go to Ray and then talk about ask the next question as to why Black women feel that Black men reject them. So let me go ahead and go to you, Ray. why do you think black women hate us if you feel they hate us?
Well, I have a question for not only the panel, but the chat as well. A rhetorical question, if you will. I'm sure everybody in here at some point was in elementary school or middle or whatever. Have we all experienced, at least the guys for sure, a girl who liked you? Or just tell me what a girl that did to a boy when they liked them at those early ages. What are some of the things that she displayed to you when she liked you? I mean, just a rhetorical question. Well, for me, when a girl like me, in those ages, those young ages, she hit you, she might say something mean to you, and some of the boys would do that. Some of the girls they like, they would hit them and do something dirty and something mean. But this was to display their care. I don't actually think that black women hate black men. I think that that's just their way of showing that they like you. It's just a very poor way of showing it. And I think that they just grow up and they continue that path forever. Because if they didn't like us, they wouldn't want us so bad. If they didn't like us, they wouldn't get mad when we go to white women. If they didn't like us, they wouldn't do a lot of things. I do believe that African-American women do ultimately want an African-American man. I just think they have poor ways of showing it, because that's a perfect example of when girls liked you back in elementary school. They did stupid stuff like hit you because they didn't know how to express it. And this is the dynamic that helped make this problem. You have after the 60s when, things changed and you have single mothers raising. Single mothers raised the boys, like Abe touched on this a little bit. Single mothers raised the boys to be cowards to black women. You said it nicer than I would have said it. Black mothers taught black boys when they were kids to be cowards to black women. And Mika referenced something of the sort, saying that black men were raised wrong and they grow up and they call women bees and hoes. I will argue that our single mothers taught us to be too nice to black women. We were taught to be pure, unadulterated cowards to black women. Because I've heard it many, many times. Don't make a black woman mad. Don't be careful. There is a movie called White Men Can't Jump. And I'm pretty sure at least the brothers on here saw that movie, where it was a scene where the white guy took his white girlfriend to the house and the two girls got to talking. They talked about why Sidney cheated him out his money. The two sisters come in, stand in front of the basketball game, in front of all these men and watching the basketball game. One of the men said, "Man, tell your wife to move out the way." He said, "I'm not telling them black women. I ain't telling no black women to move out the way." See, that's the mind state that sisters taught us to act like cowards. Abe said it too nice. Women hate cowards. We were raised a lot of times by women to be cowards. So I blame a lot of the behavior of the sisters on men. And if you want to go back further, on the single mothers that taught the men to be the type of man that they were unattracted to. Because that's what women do. They teach their sons how to be cowards. They grow up, be cowards. Those women are not sexually turned on by those men. And when a woman, let me tell you something. I'm going to say something. This sounds bad. Women are very comparable. They're very comparable to children. Now, listen to my argument. When you do not discipline your children, when you do not raise your children correctly, they will act out at some point. Children love discipline. They love a mixture of discipline and love. Not just pure discipline where you're just whooping them all the time. But when you mix in some love and some discipline, then children will love you and they will look to you for approval. The same thing goes for women. And since we were taught by women to be cowards toward women, guess what our women gonna do? This is an innate thing. This goes natural. This is a natural thing. This is not something women are doing maliciously. But women want a man that they feel like they could look on. And when we talk about women to be cowards with no man in the house after the 60s, guess what they're going to teach us? Cowardly things. because that's what they teach. They're not doing it maliciously. So do I believe that black women hate black men? Absolutely not. I just believe that they don't have anybody to get them to believe it. No matter how strong and independent, I don't need no man type of woman come around me. She can feel that I don't play no games. And guess what happens? She's going to go back and act like a woman because she knows without me saying that but a lot of men are too afraid. And we can hear some of this stuff on here. We can hear it when we having conversations with men as a whole. Oh man, I ain't gonna do that, my girl. You the man. And this is what happens when you sit cowardly men in front of black women that were taught by their single mothers to not take nothing from no man. You teach the women don't take nothing from no man. You teach the men, be careful about a black woman. Don't play with her. You see how backwards that is? And women don't respond to that on a sexual level. And if they don't respond to that on a sexual level, guess what? They'll be running the house. I blame a lot of this stuff on men, society. We can go back and forth with who we blame. But no, black women don't hate black men. They just want you to say, sit down and shut up. And black men don't know how to do that. That's the bottom line.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
So I do agree because on both ends, like the whole idea of the hitting and I have, I don't teach my girls like if a boy hits you that is because because that's what we were told when we were young. Oh, that boy hits you. That was a love tap. He likes you. But that can also be seen in the way that we have raised our children over the years. I'm hitting you. I'm spanking you. I'm beating you because I love you. So that is something that is really a part of our community, period. Like, I'm doing these things to you. So we see pain as love. We have embodied pain. We think relationships need pain and trauma to be a real relationship. So the thing is it's not that, and Hanifa said it in the chat, that the whole idea of producing cowards is from fear. Like, you fear me. And so in order for me to have control over you is to fear you. And the piece that we're not really talking about here is what that has looked like as a society, because we're sitting here and we're having these conversations amongst one another, as far as like black man against black woman against black woman, black man against black man, whatever it may be. But we don't really talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to the white supremacist doctrine that we so are actively participating in and created some of these dynamics within our relationships, period. So, it's one of those things where if you really want to get to the root of something, we can get to the root of it. But the thing is we can't sit here and say, like, let's not hold accountability on one side of the equation when we both exist in this in the issue, like to like minimalize us like we're children. Women are meant to nurture. That's what a mother's job is. But women have taken on both the man and the woman, the mother and the father in the home. So what does that look like? That's going to look like now I have to walk in my masculinity all the time, because I have to be, when I'm chastising my kids and their father is not at home, it looks very masculine because my 3-year-old son is a handful. So I have to bring out some masculine energy in order to get that 3-year-old testosterone fueled child to do as I say. And so, but when his father is here, then I don't have to do that. I can just be the nurturer. So, we have to understand that, yes, they were pushed out, but now, there are things that are coming, they're symptoms. We have to understand the symptom of something. We no longer have to push men out of the home. Sometimes they're just willing, like you are a willing divester. So we're no longer pushing men out of the home. Yes, women also, Black women have issues within ourselves that we have to fix. I talk about that, but let's take accountability on both sides, because now women are doing the same thing. There are And it boils back down to what I said before. It boils back down to pain. We are in pain. We are hurt. We are hurt from our mothers, our fathers, and then we're hurt from our relationships. And now we're projecting it onto the whole community. And we're saying that all Black women are the issue. All Black men are the issue, when that's really not the case.
I will say this, and Ray, I want to bring up something that you shared with me, and we're going to segue into hypocrisy. Right, not just hypocrisy.
You can't leave this without letting me talk on it too.
I'm sorry. Did I not get you?
Bro, you gotta let me.
I no. Go ahead. No. I apologize. Go ahead and go ahead and give me your thoughts. I thought.
All right, couple things, because it's not really. It's based on what we heard from Ray and what we heard from my.
Okay.
I just don't agree that a woman ever has to tap into her masculine energy. You know, I understand, I get it. You know, kids can be a handful, and I think that's something we were told. You know, like I was raised by my aunt. My father had me for periods. He wasn't so great at being a father. My mother, she just let me go. So I was raised by my aunt, okay? And I remember as a young adult, I had gotten out of her home. I had my own place, and I was giving her a Mother's Day card. And I gave her a Mother's Day card, and in that Mother's Day card, I said, Happy Mother's Day and Happy Father's Day. Right? And then years later, I thought about it, and I said, you know, that really doesn't make sense. There's never a moment where the man has to tap into his feminine energy in the absence of a woman. You don't have to tap into your masculine energy. You have a husband. If your 3-year-old son is acting up when he's not at home, you stay in your feminine energy and say, hey, I'm going to talk to your father about this when he gets, you know, but this is what I need you to do for me. You can discipline him as a mother. I'm not even saying that you have to go and use the father as an example, but you ain't got to tap into no masculine energy. Your feminine energy, it's powerful, and it can speak to him also. But there's no point where you have to tap into your masculine energy.
So let me say something really quick. We gotta stop using masculine and feminine. Like when you say femininity for a man, that's negative. When we say masculinity for a woman, that's negative. We all are always intertwining. Like we always going through masculine and our feminine energies. It's about how you're using those energies and what they're being used for. Women have not turned off their masculinity Black women haven't turned off their masculinity in years, because in this society that we operate in, when lots of Black women business owners, they have to tap into their masculine energy because of what the society that we lived in. We live in a patriarchal society, right? Like we don't agree that we don't live in a patriarchal society, and that sometimes as a woman, if I go to that white institution, that I have to tap into my masculinity in order to do certain things.
Okay, go ahead.
I disagree. You just don't have to.
Hold on. Let Mika in here real quick.
I just want to say this real quick, and this is something we got to get away from. Everything negative, everything that has to do with discipline, everything that is aggressive, we always associate with masculinity, and we got to stop that shit. A woman can be aggressive, a woman can be rude, a woman can be pushy. Just because she's these things doesn't make her masculine. And when we call it masculine, we're saying that men are negative and women are positive. So when I'm resting in my femininity, then, I'm positive and I'm nurturing and I'm this and I'm that. We got to stop that, because what it does is we say we love Black men. We say we love men, period, but everything we associate with men is negative. That's all I want to say. We got to get away from that. It's just like when I'm disciplining
that's what I was trying to say. It's not negative.
Yeah, but it's not masculine.
I'm not getting into my masculinity to discipline my sons. I'm getting into my assertiveness. And that's what we have to start saying.
That is a masculine trait. Assertive is a masculine trait. Aggression is a masculine trait.
Aggressiveness is not just masculine.
But see, that's the thing. You have to believe that both energies reside within you. If you don't believe that both energies reside within you at any given moment, then you are going to believe that they're either or. But if you believe that those energies do exist within you, that I can go in and out of my masculine and femininity at any given moment.
When a man is being nurturing, or when a man is being supportive, he's being feminine, is what you're saying.
So see, again, that's a negative thing. That's why men believe that being femininity is a negative thing. So if I call a man, if I say that is feminine energy, they automatically think that that is negative, and that is not negative, because nurturing is a feminine trait. That's a part of the divine feminine, and that is nurturing.
Nurturing is a human quality, not a feminine quality. Just because one group decided we were going to claim nurturing as our thing, it doesn't make it a feminine thing. It's a human quality.
What does that mean? A human?
A male gorilla is very nurturing of young gorillas. Very. It is not being feminine. It is not. It's a human. It's not even a human trait. It's a natural trait.
Okay, so we could just speak. We could just speak that it's an energy, because all of it is energy. So you don't have to name it. You don't have to say it's feminine. You can say positive and negative. You know, like you can say neutral. You can call anything something. So if you don't want to call it masculine or feminine, that's fine. You know, that is what I believe. Like, that's my ideology. That's what I consider. So it's just a different ideology.
So in the chat,
I believe that we go through feminine and masculine, and that the universe was created using both of those energies simultaneously. You need feminine and masculine energy to create life. That is what I believe. But if you don't believe that, that's fine.
No, we talking about different things. But I mean, I understand the whole like life and everything like that. I think that you need a man and a woman. Yes. And I think that they both have their jobs or their parts or whatever. But the problem is that in your speech, you associated having to be strong with being masculine.
No, more of I didn't say strong. Those were not that wasn't my word. I was saying that it is that I have to tap into sometimes to deal with a little boy who's filled with testosterone. You do have to tap into your masculine energy. Now, do I have to tap into that the predominantly of the time? No, because I can also use my femininity with my 3-year-old son to de-escalate a situation, to calm him down, whatever it may be. But that is because I believe that in the energies of intertwining masculine and feminine energy, I don't believe that we're just this thing or that thing. I don't believe that we're one or the other. I believe that we are these energies simultaneously. But the problem is that a lot of us have, there's no, you would probably agree that you would see that there's a lot of single mothers who are raising, that is the thing that they're saying today, right? Single mothers are raising a lot of feminine men. Now, you might want to call it something else. You might want to call them cowardly, whatever you want to call them. But the thing is that is what I'm saying, because when you take one out, a man is going to have more masculine energy. A woman is going to have more feminine energy, but that doesn't mean that that is all that they are. We are we're intertwining energies.
Okay.
Just like saying That's like saying I don't have testosterone. I have testosterone in my body, in my
No,
body.
but you're taking it another way, and we can never get to the bottom of it. Like when you start giving all these examples, you take it another way. But what I'm talking about is how you're using masculine and feminine. I do not agree that a woman ever has to be masculine to get her point across to her son. She can still remain in her feminine, and she can be strong in that. Also, it's because you're using the masculine like a bad thing or like a weapon.
I'm not. I said that.
Hold on. You went on, but look. You even said to handle a testosterone-filled 3-year-old.
Testosterone. What does testosterone do? What is testosterone though? What is it? How does it affect the child?
Testosterone has nothing to do with problems.
I didn't say he was a problem. I didn't say he was a problem.
Well, then why did you point out testosterone filled? Why not to deal with my 3-year-old child? You said specifically masculine energy, testosterone filled 3-year-old.
Because I do know having 4 kids, I have 2 boys and 2 girls.
I got you. I got you. But what I'm trying to get you to hear is that when a brother hear you say that, he hears that these qualities, these masculine qualities, are bad things.
No, they're not bad things, because when you have a certain level of testosterone, I guess that's because we don't really know each other, right? So you don't know what my ideology is when it comes to what like testosterone or estrogen. Like somebody says, oh, that estrogen woman, they would probably think that, oh, she's a whiny baby or whatever like that. But the thing is, when I'm talking about testosterone, I'm talking about there's a certain level of energy that a little boy has that little girls don't have. Raising 2 daughters, I know that they had a different temperament than my sons who that had more inner, they just did things differently. And so that requires a different level of energy. I guess we can just put it that way. It just requires a different level of energy, because boys like to do stuff. They like to throw things down. They like to see how things work. It's a different type of energy that happens with boys versus girls. I don't look at my sons or my daughters as being better or worse. They're just different in how they go through life and maneuver things and how they like to see things work. It's just a different thing. So we got to be careful even with the English language, right? Like the English language is a very hard thing to express ourselves at our true essence, because like I'm saying this is we are depicting how it can be difficult to have conversations with one another, because we're saying the same thing, but you're thinking I'm being negative when I already said that I don't look at masculine energy as being negative. Okay. I love that to be with a Black masculine man. That to me is what is needed in our homes.
So let's agree, because I want to go into hypocrisy and then we give our final thoughts. Let's agree or practice the principle of charity, and take her at her word and say that she was saying that she needed to be more assertive. Is that fair, Ma'at, that you had to be more assertive?
Fair, yeah.
Well, okay. I love that though.
Okay. So let's just say that, and then move on, because I don't think her attempt was to portray it as something negative. Let's just say that she meant that she had to be more assertive, or as assertive as maybe her husband. Maybe let's leave it at that. So Ray, I wanted to talk about hypocrisy and not just interracial dating. I don't know, because we're kind of running out of time here, but hypocrisy when it comes to women and men and what our preferences are. And Rick, you and I have had these conversations as well, where women are allowed to have their preferences, right? They're allowed to say that they want a man to be 6 feet, to be six figures, and list a litany of preferences. But when a man states his preferences, it's seen as offensive, right? So it seems to be one-sided, where women are allowed to have preferences and men are not. So I want to share something that you provided me, which was a screenshot of you on a dating app, the Bumblebee dating app, and I'm going to read I'm going to read it for 1 second. Let me pull this up. So I don't know if you can see this. So this is Ray's his profile on Bumblebee. It says, if you ask for honesty, then be careful what you ask from me, because you'll get it. Strong, independent women that don't need no man, please swipe left. And one last thing, weave, lace fronts, sew-in, wigs, big dumbass bat eyelashes, swipe left as well. So please tell us what you put that in response to. And well, first tell us what happened to you when you posted this.
Oh man, I posted that within 10 minutes. I had that site is a site that women have to respond to you first. You can't say anything to these women before they say something to you. You can only like their pictures, but they have to go out of the way to say something to you first. Makes them take the initiative. After I posted that, within 20 minutes, I had 15, 20 girls pissed off, cussing and asking me things like, why do you hate black women so much? I didn't say the word black in that whole thing. Why do you hate black women so much? Your mama black. The same thing that y'all probably all, I know the fellas at least have heard, your mama black, and why do you hate black women so much? But the odd thing about that is the women's bios, right? I don't know how many of you all have been on the date sites, the men in general, but if you look at some of the bios of what these women want, it's incredibly aggressive, okay? If you have any kids, swipe left. I ain't got time for you. But if you don't accept my kids, swipe left too, because I ain't got no time for you. Must be 6'2". If you ain't making good money, then going on. I ain't got time. I could do bad all by myself. All the stereotypical sayings that are always said to us. They're all in these, and they're incredibly aggressive. What I just said to you was some pretty nice stuff. I'm gonna say within a week that was deleted, and it was because Bumble said that was a hate speech.
So you were reported. Somebody reported you.
I was reported, and it had to be a woman. That's what I put that I was looking for. So it's just odd to me, the hypocrisy behind dating, and this does display that on a large level, because you hear this all the time. I ain't got no time for no broke cat. I ain't got no time for no bum. We've all heard it the same. It's nothing different. If you put 50 guys in a line and talk about the catchphrases that women say, we'll all say the same thing. We gonna all say the same. We all know the same across America. We know the same thing, and it's just the hypocrisy behind you being bold enough to tell us exactly what you don't got time for, and I can't say that I don't want my sister to have white hair. I can't even say I want my black woman to have black hair like a black person. I can't even say that. And you could tell me that I better swipe left and I got any kids, but I better love not only your kids, but I must kiss your dog on the mouth. This is the type of stuff that you're going to see on this. And women don't have a problem at all with yelling this at the top of their lungs. But when you have a man that's going, listen, it's a bigger picture to this, all right? It goes back to what I said again, because they are unaccustomed to men having the balls to actually say, this is what it is, deal with it, and get on. They don't, black men can't say that. Black men don't have the balls to say it because we weren't raised to have the balls to say it. So black women are not accustomed to hearing aggressive men say it as aggressively as I say pretty much everything. So, of course, it's shocking. It's shocking to see that. If you see that for the first time when you're trying to swipe, you're going to definitely go, who do he think he is? I don't think that I've ever said anything about black women on that whole thing. I read it several times with every black woman, and it was all black women. The only women that got on there that said they liked it are sisters that have real hair, which I accomplished my goal with that one. Sisters that have real hair, they had criticisms to other sisters that didn't wear real hair, and white girls. Those are the two groups that said, what's up? But I just find the whole idea of it hypocritical. It's just, but sisters don't have a problem if it doesn't, they don't have a problem if you don't have anything negative to say. It just,
so about it, what do you think when it comes to hypocrisy, when it comes to interracial dating? Because oftentimes, at least to me, it seems like sisters have a problem with black men dating interracially. Yeah. But when black women do it, they give them a standing ovation. Say, for example, like Serena Williams, when she married a white man, there were cheers. When Eve married a white guy, they were cheering. Gabrielle Sidibe, they say, you go, sis. I mean, almost every black woman at ESPN, from Mika Andrews, Carrie Champion, all of them say it's Paige Steele. They all have white guys, and they are lauded. The only people who get criticism for dating out seems to be black men.
Listen, all of those
things. A little bit of flack.
Serena did? Okay. Hey, I want you to tell me that. Go ahead.
All of those things are closely related to some of the things that I said earlier. Sisters don't have a problem with doing that because they're not accustomed. When I make the example of when men cheat, it's just because they want to get off on something new, or they ain't getting none at home, something simple. And when women cheat, they quite oftentimes say, I'm going to show him. When black women are cheering that type of stuff on, it's because it's like, oh, all these brothers doing it, I'm going to do it too. It's not necessarily cheering them on, but it's a war that goes on between black men and black women. And women feel like it's a war, and we have to show them the same thing that they show us. That's the main reason right there that sisters cheering on so much is because it got one. It's kind of like when a man finally wins alimony, or a man finally wins the rights to the kids. A man finally gets child support.
Right, you mean that 1 in 200, 1 in 500,
1 in 5,000.
When you finally find a brother that finally won in family court, you're going to say, that's right. You know why you like that? Because all of the other brothers have gotten wiped out by this system. So when it finally happens, that's what sisters are doing. They just cheering on because on a vindictive level, they want to get back at you. They feel like that's showing. We sticking it to them. That's how what black women are doing. I'm 90% positive that that's the case most of the time. It's exceptions to the rule, but most of the time that's how they do.
Yeah. Mika, what do you think? Do you think women are hypocritical when it comes to this issue? When it comes to not just interracial dating, but when it comes to like preferences, do you think they're hypocritical?
Bro, I'm mad at y'all.
Definitely are. I think for us it's a win, but I mean literally though, it really is a win for us because if you think about it, when they've done polls internationally, black women always come up at the bottom of the totem pole, right? Black men come up at the top and black women come up at the bottom, right? anytime they do any polls about attractiveness or, you know, whatever. So, I mean, really, it is a win for us because, I mean, we're literally at the bottom of the top, you know, the totem pole. For black men, I mean, you at the top already. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you can basically have whoever you want. Black women, we struggling in these streets. You know what I'm saying? We're literally at the bottom of the bottom anytime that they do any type of poll of attractiveness. And we're just going to go statistically, right? So it being the fact that they did get a white man, that, you know, that's a win. It is a win. So it's not really, I can't even really call it hypocrisy. I just call it more of like beating the odds, right? Because, you know.
Yeah.
And again, let me just put this little period on there. I don't think anybody should date out. Y'all know that. Y'all know that from the very top of the show. I don't think anybody should date out, period, right? But gotta look at the statistics. And statistically, it is a win for black women. It's not a win for black men.
Rick, I know. I'm going to assume that you vehemently disagree with that, and that there is some hypocrisy because, you know, black women often have these preferences and these standards that they're unwilling to settle for, right? Like a man has to make more than them. A man has to be taller, but when you look at, say, like, but when you're white, those standards don't matter, right? I mean, they have a different standard for white guys.
Black women say that, but they screwing everybody though, so it don't matter. It's a fake standard because they still gonna screw the fat short dudes. I mean, like they're still gonna screw.
Hold on.
They're just saying things. Just
no, I think I agree with her. I'm beefing with all of y'all though, because this podcast is gonna have to go crazy because it was just now a centipede or something crawling on me, and I know somebody saw it.
Oh no!
That joint was crawling on me. I didn't even know it. I felt it, and I killed it so good that I couldn't tell what it was. So I had to watch the chat, and I saw it moving around on my shirt, but I still couldn't tell what it was. So, you know, this chat should go viral just based on that alone, right? I don't know what the heck it was because I killed it. But I looked on my chat and I was like, it was something blonde, pale looking, moving around on my shirt. And I crushed it. Yeah, that should take this to 1 million views. We need to put that in the tags. Okay. I do agree that there is a publicly stated double standard. Yeah, they talking that talk. You know, just like a lot of people who say, you know, I'm gonna be the brothers. I'm gonna date a white man. A lot of times when they say that, I just laugh because I'm like, all right, go ahead, you know, good luck. I just don't think they're gonna fare too well. I don't think they're gonna get this great white guy. You might get a white guy, but you're gonna find out that he ain't all that great, you know, because, you know, I just don't think you're going to go into that arena and get the best. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that there's a lot of great white guys, but I don't think that if you are a sister that the brothers ain't really checking for, then I don't think other people going to be checking for them either. Because it's plenty of sisters that the brothers is checking for. And they might not have a problem going somewhere else and picking the cream of the crop. But if you're a sister that the brothers ain't checking for, you ain't going to go somewhere else and get the cream of the crop. Same with the brothers, though. You know, if the sisters, if you hold your own, you know, you can find some decent sisters, you know. But if you got centipedes or whatever crawling on you, you might have a little difficult time, you know. But and your afro out, whatever. But there's definitely a double standard, though. I see it, I feel it, I hear it, I witness it. You know, because I could spend the day driving a very nice European luxury car, and in that same day be driving a beat up minivan, right? And I can see the difference in how I'm received by people, but it really only makes a difference amongst our people, because outside of our people, it doesn't seem like people care what I'm driving or what I'm dressed in or how my hair is or anything like that. They are accepting of me regardless. So there's definitely a double standard. I see those things that that Ray was talking about in the dating apps. I'm on a dating app. I see the same thing. They even tell us what to say out of our mouth. A lot of times I see the women's dating profiles that say, "Don't come here and say hi. Be different." It's like, what am I supposed to say?
Right.
How am I supposed to start the conversation? Don't say hi. Be different. Be me. First of all, I don't know what the other 100 guys said to you. I don't even know how to be different because I don't know what the other 100 guys said.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that heat. I feel that heat.
Hey, let me, if I shall.
Hold on 1 second. Let me bring in Ma'at. Let me bring in Ma'at, and then we're gonna do our closing thought.
I saw that thing crawling on me too. I know.
And then we'll bring in we'll do our closing thoughts.
I'm tripped out by that.
Okay, so Ma'at, what are your thoughts? Do you feel that there is a double standard when it comes to preferences in interracial relationships?
Yes, I definitely think it's a double standard. I think it goes back to what I said before. It goes back to pain, goes back to we hurt. Black women are hurt. We don't want to necessarily acknowledge that we're hurt. And so one of the things, I agree with what Ray said, is like, and also what Mika said, is kind of like, okay, it's a win for us because we are fighting against that standard of beauty. So the standard of beauty is something that we're constantly, that whole idea of the closer you are, the proximity to whiteness that you are, that is what is considered to be more beautiful. And we can look at, the historical context behind that, the pseudoscience that they tried to represent. I know Kevin Samuels talked about it also before, and that whole idea of the phenotypes and all the different kind of stuff. So we're always dealing with being compared to the quote unquote standard of beauty, that kind of European standard of beauty. So a lot of times when women start seeing different people, especially celebrities, I heard this one content creator that was like, oh, well, I think it was, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Serena. And they were like, oh, well, she tried, she was with, this black man and this black man. So, she tried for the longest. And so we do, I personally don't, because, I don't give anybody a pass. But a lot of black women, they do. They won't give black men a pass, but they'll give black women a pass because we think that by we're comparing. We're like, oh, black men are doing it. Black men been doing it, And so now it's like, okay, it's our turn. It's our turn to shine. Our time to shine. Our time to win. And not really thinking that, really recognizing that we have been hurt. And then also what we look at as protection and safety, because just like Ray said, like men are kind of simple. And I do think that men, for the most part, they're looking at they look at relationships differently. But as women, and because we have been conditioned to believe that other groups of men are better financially, resources, safety wise, we're kind of looking at those things. Then we also think that by divesting out now, you see a lot more of these divestors coming out, then that they're thinking that, oh, well, white men or whomever, mostly white men, are going to be better, I'm going to be financially, they can take care of me. as opposed to a black man. Like, I don't want that struggle love. So, it's a lot of factors, but to answer your question, yes, it is definitely a double standard.
I'll say this, when it comes to the divestors and some of these other women who date out, I do think that there's a double standard and there's hypocrisy. Say, for example, what's his name? The football player out of Kelsey, Travis Kelsey, and his girlfriend Caitlin Nicole. And Travis Kelsey, he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's white, and his girlfriend is black. They have been dating for 5 years, and she broke up with him. She said she stood by his side when he was cheating, and that in the total 5 years he only spent a total of $20 on her, right? And so, I'm scratching my head because, one, I can't see a black woman who is with a multimillionaire staying with him for 5 years if he only spends an average of $20 a year on her. So,
bro, drop the multimillionaire thing.
I'm just
see a black woman being with a black man. Period. I don't care if he work at McDonald's.
No, well, I'm just saying that for effect. I'm saying that for effect. I mean, the fact that because she would have been sullying his name and embarrassing him from day one. This cheap mofo, blah blah blah. She would have put him out there. The fact that this girl stayed with him for that long, the only thing you could attribute it to was his whiteness, right? Without embarrassing him, the fact that he cheated, the fact that he doesn't pay, they had to split the bills on everything, whether it was food, going out, everything, right? The same thing when you look at like the Serena Williams and all these women who have this 6 foot thing that the guy has to be 6 foot. And then when they get with the white guy, he doesn't have to be 6 foot. With the black guy, he has to make equal or more than what they make, but they'll get with the white guy who makes less than what she makes. It seems like, and so part of it makes me wonder, especially with these girls that are still in that, they're still fertile. I have to ask myself, with some people, when it comes to interracial dating or interracial marriage, is it a light-skinned baby fetish? Now, I knew a guy who we were stationed together in the military. He's a good brother. And he's dark-skinned. He's not as dark as I am. And, he has certain Africoid features. And he was married to a white woman, and he would brag on the fact that his son didn't even look black. He's like, my son, he looks Latino. He doesn't even look black. And that was a source of pride for him. He was very proud of that fact. And it made my stomach churn because, okay, I mean, if you love your son, you love your son, but you're proud of the fact that he doesn't look black. And you have to wonder how many, especially when it comes to women who are darker skinned, who've been teased for being dark skinned. You know that our community, we have a serious issue with colorism, and people like to mock your physical trait, darkness. Like they sometimes people talk about it like it's a bad thing, but if you were to bleach your skin, or if you only wanted to date white because you didn't want your kids to look anything like you, they would accuse you of having self-hate, which is primarily true. So I would love to go into that, but we have to begin to wrap up. We'll save that for another show, a topic on another show. So Mika, what we typically do is everybody gets a couple of minutes to give their closing thoughts on this remark, and then we'll close out the show, and then just stay put into the closing credits, and then we'll talk behind the scenes. Your final thoughts. Mika.
I think it's a really important topic. As I say, it's one that we grapple with all the time, this interracial dating, and whether you can be to your fullest black potential, if you're actually dating out. And then I think as parents, just like I stated myself, you grapple with it with your children. You know, so you kind of gotta, you know, go with it, you know, as a, you know, and it's crazy because you'll teach your children certain things, but, you know, it still doesn't change what do I want to say, still doesn't change their environment, right? And so someone alluded to it earlier, and I can't remember, but it was like, these children are being raised by these parents, right? These boys are being raised by these parents. You know we have predominantly single parent-led households. So these women are raising their sons to be the kind of men that they would never be with, right? So the market is flooded with men who nobody wants. And so it makes perfect sense that, you know, 20 to 40% of the black male population is getting 80% of the women pregnant. Because you literally raised this man to be somebody nobody wants, right? So basically by design, you are creating men who will never be accepted by the women of their community. So then they have to go outside of the community to be accepted, right? So we could try to blame it on the men, but we can't really blame it on the men because the men are only a product of their environment. So we have to raise our sons to be different. And I think that's really the cusp of everything, is that we have to raise our sons to be different. We have to make better choices about who we procreate with so that we don't have to be responsible for trying to raise men into men, because we'll never succeed, right? Sometimes we get lucky, but it's a crapshoot, right? It's like going to Vegas and thinking you're going to hit $1 million with $20 to put in. It's just almost impossible. So we have to stop thinking as black women and patting ourselves on the back and saying, oh, happy Father's Day and happy Mother's Day to ourselves. That's not a win. In all actuality, you look real stupid when you want to sit up there and put on your Superman cape and say, oh, you know, I'm a superhero because I could raise these children by myself. You really can't. You are doing your children a disservice. And, you know, until you can figure that out, you know, we'll continue in the same scheme of things. So lastly, and my main point is that raise your boys to be the kind of men that you like. Mm-hmm. You know, not like the baby daddy that you kicked out and you know, you threw him off your couch and you threw him outside. Raise them to be the kind of men that you would actually want to sustain relationships with. Raise them to be successful. Raise them to be assertive. Raise them to be men's men. And then we can possibly get to the point to where we can even begin to solve all these issues that's going on.
Great point. Great point. Ray, final thoughts.
Well, I think that based off this subject, I've been saying this for a long time, that we are too far gone as black people. I think we're too far gone. I don't think that we can come back from this. I think that once the human brain accepts something, especially you get on into the ages that we're at, it's over. My generation, my mom's generation, baby boomers, completely failed. And the generations before us that are eating this same thing, I don't think that none of them, not the black people. I think women as a whole have changed the game, and I think the generations, I think it's over. And to be on a deeper level, I believe that this ideology will spread. It's already spreading, and it will be eventually the collapse of the West. Now, I know that sounds deep.
Collapse of the what?
The collapse of the West. I believe that we're not having children. Nobody's procreating, not like they used to. We're not currently reproducing at a rate that replace the people that are currently alive. Men are not getting married to women, and damn sure not getting married to black women more and more. I mean, nobody's getting married. Nobody's having children. What do you think the numbers are going to happen in another 50 years when we dead, another 100 years? People are not having children. People are not getting married like they used to. My great-grandparents, my grandparents, they had 9, 10 kids. All y'all grandparents did the same thing. They're not doing that no more. What do you think the numbers are going to do? It's going to go from 350 million to another 50 years, 100 years, it'll be 100. Then it'll be less, and that will be the collapse of the West. It's some deep stuff to think about, but it starts as a small seed, and it grows into this. And we're in more trouble than anybody else. I don't think that sisters will, we can have these conversations as much as we want to have these conversations. And it all sounds good on paper, but nothing's going to happen. These conversations have been had a lot of times. Nothing's going to happen. I think it's too late.
Well, don't be a dream killer. I feel like the conversations on this show is going to have an impact. Don't try to scare people off from coming here and listening to it and getting something of substance, man. But go ahead.
Well, you know, people are going to want to listen to stuff, but I'm saying as far as a community of Black people, I just don't believe that the American or the westernized Black women. Let me tell you something, man. Let me say some quick stuff. I need to give you a little bit of history, just really quickly. Mm-hmm. I was a civilian defense contractor in Afghanistan, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Dubai. I traveled 7 seas. I traveled it many, many times. I lived in some of these countries, like next door to the Kuwaitis, next door. And one thing that I can say with all my work travels of the world, that the men in those countries look at our women as the lowest form of life. That is, and specifically speaking about American women, but in more particular about sisters. They look at our sisters as the lowest. There's a sign that's in Kuwait that I pass by often. It was in Arabic. Of course, I didn't know what it was. At some point, I got cool with one of the, Kuwaiti guys, or maybe he was a Hindu Indian, but he knew Arabic. And I said, I see this sign all over the country. I don't understand what it means, but I see it quite often. And it said basically that we see the direction that the American women have gone. We see how the American women went, and we would do everything in our power for that to not happen to our women. Nowhere you go in the world, they say, we're going to go get a sister. We're going to go get an American woman. They just look at our women as just absolute trash. I don't say these things because I hate, because when you, as a kid, when your mom took you to the grocery store and she saw you playing with some kids acting stupid, the mother whoops you. Your mother doesn't whoop the child. It doesn't mean that she doesn't love you. It means that her criticism on you is because she wants you to do better. I make these arguments about women and it make it sound like I hate women. What I'm telling you is not only true, but it's the criticism that's going to assist you to do better in life. You think a lot of brothers want to go to white girls? Perhaps a lot of them do. But why? I just think it's too late, to be honest with you. I think the discussion needs to be had. Let's not get that mistaken. What I'm saying that as far as once you get to a certain age in your life, you're not changing your mind. You're never going to get sisters to stop wearing weave. It's never going to happen, because women are never going to tell women. The only people that can criticize women is women, and they're not going to do it. Women are not going to criticize women. We can't. Yeah. We can't. Who can? Sisters are not going to do it, and we can't do it. What does this lead to? Nothing positive.
Well, man, that was depressing. but I tend to be more hopeful. I think sometimes you gotta hit rock bottom. You got to hit low before you bounce back up. Ma'at, your final thoughts.
Yeah, so one thing that, I preach on my channel is looking within, starting with self, and really taking a dive into what I am doing daily. So when I say I, that's each person's responsibility to look at themselves and look at, what have I done today? to help, and what what have I not done? And so I preach that to my kids as well. What are you doing today to be a better version or do greater than you did the day before? And when it comes to having conversations like that, like this, I do think they're important. I think they're helpful. I think we romanticize the past. We romanticize our grandparents and great grandparents, but they had issues because every generation passes on something, and then it's up to us to decide what to do with it. So you have people who did not have good fathers, or they didn't see marriage in their family, good marriages. So what did they do with that? They said, I'm going to make sure that a good marriage comes out of me. Just like a person might have seen obesity in their family, and they might have said, you know what, I'm not going to pass on. I'm not going to pass on high blood pressure. I'm not going to pass on obesity. I'm not going to pass on diabetes. They decided to be a greater version than the ones that came before them. So the thing is, we have to be careful with having that individualistic mindset and saying that I'm like, this is, when you focus on the individual mindset, then things don't look better. But when you focus on the macro versus the micro, when you focus on the fact that we are having these conversations, because while the trauma was happening with our grandparents and great grandparents, these types of conversations weren't happening in the majority, but we're having these conversations now. We have the ability to turn the computer on, and we can be in other parts of the world and have these conversations. We can be in other parts of the country. I would never look to another culture to validate the men or women in my own culture. So it's very important that when I look in the mirror, I see beauty in myself. I see beauty in my children. I see beauty in the Black man, and I see beauty in the Black woman. So that is the most important thing. And I don't want to, go too far on it, but I just think that the thing is just like, we just have to, we have to heal. We have to first know that we need to heal from something. Every one of us here, most likely, because we live in this society, have something that we need to heal from. Just seeing the things that we see on the news, that takes a certain level of healing, and being intentional with how we're educating ourselves and educating our children. What are we watching? What are we absorbing? Are we listening to conversations like these, or are we listening to negative conversations that feed into the toxicity? And so I'll end with something that Naeem Akbar said in the book, Know Thyself. He said, each generation has the responsibility of maintaining the level of consciousness attained by the previous generations, and of advancing the community to even higher levels by the development of their own consciousness. Education in its inception was understood as a process of harnessing the inner potential that was yet unexpressed and bringing it out or up into consciousness. So it is very important that we start there, and we start with our children, because if we're only talking about ourselves, then what's the conversation for? We need to be thinking about the generations that come after us.
Well said. Well said. Rick, closing thoughts.
Okay. Bro, I'm with you, Abe. I cannot sit with it's too late. Nah, I'm not with that. There's a saying going around. I don't know who said it first, but it's a dope saying. They say hard times create tough people. Tough people create easy times. Easy times create weak people. Weak people create hard times. Right? So you say it's like too late. I feel like we are in a period of hard times. Like just outside of slavery, slavery was a hard time, but it continued outside of slavery. And that created tough people, tough family bonds and all that stuff, right? So like right now, when I look for the sisters, it's not looking good. I'm sure when they look for the brothers, it's not looking good. But these are hard times. I think that eventually we're gonna accept the fact that this just isn't working. The people who think it's working for them right now are the women because it looks like they're winning, right? I hear them talk about getting better jobs or being better educated and all that stuff. All of that stuff sounds great, but eventually you're gonna need somebody to shovel the snow. Even if he's not educated, you're gonna need somebody to, do something, hang the curtains or whatever, right? And then your education ain't gonna matter when that guy in the friend zone gets tired of doing that stuff. You're gonna have to come back home. And I keep saying this all through the show. Eventually, gonna have to come back home. So it may not happen in my lifetime, but I don't think it's too late. But I'm 50 anyway, so they don't give me too many more years anyway. But it may not happen in my lifetime, but I don't think it's too late. I think the weaves, the makeup, the attitude, the not picking on anybody, like the whole embracing the masculine energy thing, I think it's all gonna get old. And then I think we'll flourish. And then 100 years after that, they'll be struggling for some other reason. But we ain't going nowhere, bro. We ain't going nowhere. We're going to come back, and my great-great-grandkids going to be dark-skinned, and we'll be back.
Yeah. Thanks for the comments. I want to echo the sentiments from all of you panelists. I share your views. I will say, with the exception of Ray, I'm a little bit more optimistic than you. I think that sometimes it's going to take folks hitting the brick wall before they realize. There's a saying that sometimes people don't appreciate your presence until they experience your absence. And we are headed for some rough times. Okay. Whether or not you think that, the economy is getting ready to turn upside down. There are food shortages, whether or not you believe they happen naturally or this is a man-made disaster, right? This is a manufactured disaster, but there's food shortages. There's an issue with rent. Like, rent is going up everywhere, right? And that was man-made, not to speak, but I mean, there was a rent moratorium that gave people 2 years of free rent, but the property owners were never made whole. So when that moratorium ended, what do you think the property owners did? They jacked up the prices. So everything is more expensive. Right? When rents are more expensive, food is more expensive, that has an inflationary effect. I mean, your dollar doesn't have the same purchasing power. Right? It's about to be the Hunger Games out here soon. And those women who are talking around, walking around talking about how they don't need a man, I say give it another 18 months to 2 years. I think you'll hear a difference of opinion. I know. I mean, we could disagree on that, but I'll just say that I think that conversations like this help. Again, and I've been saying this, we need to talk to each other instead of past each other. And I think only then will we begin to move forward as black men and black women. If you can, stick around. That's our show for tonight. For those of you who are still left in the chat room, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe and notification bell. That's our time for now. Until next time, remember to keep an open mind, think for yourself, and stay lit. AK on fire.
Babe, when I saw you for the first time, I knew we were destined to meet. 'Cause my knees went weak, my stomach went tight. Stay there, don't leave. Pull myself together, babe, I'm so shy. Trying to find something to say. Whatever I say needs to be right to you. No way. Damn, I feel trapped, 'cause now you're everything I see. One look was all that it took. Then you left your mark on me. Now I got everything to lose. 'Cause you're the only one I choose. 'Cause no one makes me feel the way you do. The way, yeah, you turn me on. Kiss me, babe, I want you to. My lonely days are gonna go anywhere with you. I'll go anywhere with you. Let go of fear, make that move right now. Don't let this good thing pass you by. Give in to feelings hidden inside. Stay there, don't leave. Damn, I feel trapped, 'cause now you're everything I see. One look was all that it took. Then you left your mark on me. Now I got everything to lose. 'Cause you're the only one I choose.